Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the opening drive on 101 ESPN in St. Louis. I'm feeling self-conscious here.
I was trying to help you before the camera started, Randy.
Thank you.
So we had a cherry pie to start our morning, courtesy of Randy Carricker and Schnooks, I believe.
No, this came from the Valley of the Sun, like the best cherry pie in the Valley of the Sun. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Amazing.
Oh, yeah.
And you had some pie on your face to start the show.
Am I pie face still, or is it gone?
I think you're clear. Dan, you're a little bit closer. What do you see?
Upper right lip.
Okay. There we go.
I was trying to help you before the show
Did you
started.
and cut yourself?
I may have done that, too.
Maybe that's it. Don't pick at it. You could be bleeding all morning.
Bleeding, especially when you're on a blood thinner, man. You start bleeding, and it doesn't stop.
We don't need that.
No.
I thought it was the pie.
Well, it very well could have been. The pie is still here. It's 7:01. Your time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. TGIF. Happy Friday, everybody. How are we doing?
Oh, I'm doing great this morning. A cherry pie, as we mentioned, to start the morning. Now, it is quite sugary, so I'm having to pace myself a little bit so I don't have too much of a sugar high, because the crash, as you guys know, with that is extreme.
It's a good play, Brooke. That's a very smart play on your part. I, guys, am so happy and so excited that the Cardinals made that deal for Dylan Cease over the offseason. He was sensational for the Cardinals yesterday in that no-hitter. He was great. Maybe the three best starts consecutively over the course of the last 50 years. He's pretty good.
He's given up a total of 2 hits in his last 3 starts.
Yeah, no runs.
Right.
22 innings, 30 strikeouts.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I loved what Mike
Schilt
did.
Though. He's really Mike Schilt's not ours.
Mike Schilt kept him in the game, said, go for it, go get it. He didn't really need to be convinced all that much, and I was watching the game. He was still strong, 8th and 9th. You know, you have to roll him back out there. Why not?
His 100th pitch was 100 miles an hour.
Exactly.
Second no-hitter in Padres history, and you guys were right. I mean, Bob Nightingale reported afterwards when we saw that Mike Schilt went over, talked to Dylan Cease. He was thinking about pulling him after 94 pitches, but it was Dylan Cease that convinced him that he was good enough to stay in the game, and it panned out. 114 pitches, and he was so efficient out there. Man, everybody wishes that they had Dylan Cease at this moment.
You know, the amazing thing is, why does he need to be convinced? Why?
We're so hung up at the 100-pitch thing. It's just ridiculous.
I understand that, and I get it. That's where we're going. But just do the eye test. He's at 94 pitch. He's throwing 100. He'll be fine. Go get 3 outs. Go get your no-hitter. Go get history.
Yeah. And interesting piece at ESPN.com by David Schoenfield, who runs down the best 3-start stretches in the history of baseball. And this is right there. Under the circumstances, obviously Bob Gibson had 3 consecutive complete games in 1968 when he had the 1.12. Scherzer had a dominant 3-game stretch in 2015. But this is right there with circumstances, apples to apples against what you're doing right now. This is right there as the best 3-game stretches ever. I can't believe that Dylan Cease got traded for such a small package that the Padres got him for what they got him for.
I was shocked by that, too, because when we were all talking about it, I thought it would require a pretty big haul. But then when you saw really what the trade was, I was shocked that that's all that it took.
Yeah, it's amazing. And he's pitching great for the Padres. Meanwhile, Randy Arozarena gets traded last night, too, as the trade deadline is just a few days away. And Arozarena late last night getting traded from the Tampa Bay Rays to the Seattle Mariners in exchange for a couple of minor leaguers.
By the way, the Padres now half game in front of the Cardinals, and if it started today, the Cardinals are out of the playoffs. The Mariners, you knew that they were going to do something. Jerry DiPoto is not going to sit back and wait. Neither will A.J. Preller of the Padres. They're going to go out, and they're riverboat gamblers kind of guys that they're going to go out and make deals. The Mariners have a 660 OPS. That's 3rd lowest in the majors. They can pitch, but they can't hit, and so they get a little jolt maybe with Randy Arozarena.
And they've made some mistakes. Jerry DiPoto makes a lot of deals and lets a lot of things happen. Well, how about if they had Teoscar Hernandez?
That would help. Yeah, that would help for sure. They're dangerous if they get in because of their pitching. It's just they cannot hit. Again, a 660 OPS, 3rd lowest in the major leagues. But Jerry DiPoto, it seems like to me, he kind of throws a lot of things at the wall and sees what sticks. And sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. But that's what happens if you make a lot of deals, is that it's hard to evaluate completely right away. It takes 4 or 5 years to see how it plays out. But, man, he's not afraid to pull the trigger, and that's kind of fun in watching him and A.J. Preller. They go for it.
That's what I like to see. I know we've discussed this, but as the trade deadline approaches, are you guys expecting it to be at least exciting? I know that some people are predicting it'll be pretty stale, but could this really kick off something maybe exciting for the trade deadline?
I would think so. I would hope that teams that have needs, like the Cardinals, have clear needs, and again, because Cease was traded during spring training, there isn't as much available in terms of a number one starter. In fact, the guy that might be out there also pitches for the White Sox, and we'll get to his situation, Garrett Crochet's situation, in a moment. But John Mozeliak's not wrong when he says that it's going to be a seller's market, because there are probably, if we're going to boil it down to 30 teams, probably going to be 20 buyers and 10 sellers.
I could be completely wrong, but to answer your question, Brooke, on the local level, I don't think it's going to be that exciting. I think you add a bullpen arm or two, maybe try to go out and get one of these lesser starters to help your bullpen. Then, as we talked about, it moves one of your starters to the bullpen to help them out, because they do need some help. But on a national level, I mean, I could see the Padres getting involved. I could see the Mariners getting involved. I could see the Yankees. You know, they're usually never quiet. They need some help. They're faltering right now, haven't played good baseball. You never count out the Dodgers, who, by the way, are playing well since the All-Star break. But those are the teams that usually make a lot of noise coming up at the trade deadline.
And last night, by the way, too, in the minor leagues, because that's what you were looking at, right? Is like, what are you willing to give up on the Cardinals side for these trades? You had Jordan Walker with a home run last night and Ivan Herrera with a home run.
Yeah. And
right-handed bat for the Cardinals. Is that something that we could eventually look at with one of those two?
That's I was going to say, I wonder if the Cardinals might be more inclined to keep Herrera. And if you're going to move him this offseason, I don't think you can afford to trade him because of the threat of injury to Pages or Contreras anyway. But maybe he winds up in your lineup against left-handers on a regular basis.
You can expand your rosters, so you hold on for the month of August and then get into September and expand and have a third catcher. You know, if you wanted to, that's your third catcher, but that really is essentially the bat that you're looking for coming off the bench or to be a potential DH.
Yeah, and J-Dub, I love that he hit the home run. He's not going anywhere. He can't go anywhere.
I can't move him. No way.
No.
I don't think there's any chance. And we talk about he's 22.
Yeah. Right.
I just don't see that. At least from my perspective, there's no way I would.
No. Untouchable at that point.
Yeah. The games of the 33rd Olympiad start today. Opening ceremonies in Paris. They're going to have the opening ceremonies along a river. People are going to be in boats, and they're free. The opening ceremonies, it's not in a stadium. People can line up along the river, and they can watch it for free. Yeah.
Patrick going?
They arrived yesterday, and we've got a ton of pictures. Yeah, they've been out and about all day today.
I mean, to the opening ceremonies.
He's going to the opening ceremonies.
That'd be cool.
They're going to watch those, and I think they're watching basketball on Sunday, the first game.
Ooh, that's super exciting.
Yeah.
I was wondering if those would be sold out. Like, everybody wants to watch Team USA. Even if you're not from here, you still want to watch these great players. I was always wondering if those games are completely sold out.
I would think so. I would think everybody that's made their way to Paris probably has done so with the idea that basketball is top of the list. I can't imagine that you'd have any Olympic basketball game featuring the United States that wouldn't be sold out.
What sport are you guys looking forward to the most?
Probably hoops.
Yeah, basketball and badminton.
You're into badminton, huh?
Badminton. Olympic badminton is unbelievable.
You're being serious.
I am. It's ping pong too. Olympic. You ever watch Olympic ping pong?
Oh yeah,
those guys
I've seen
are
clips.
It's unreal.
It's incredible. I don't know how they do it.
They move so fast.
Yeah.
I would. It feels like you couldn't blink at any moment because you might miss something.
Yeah, it's amazing. So yeah, I'll watch that. The one I probably won't watch. Hell, I can go to North St. Louis and watch shooting, so I don't need to go. What? We do have Olympic shooting in Paris.
Can I introduce you guys in a new sport that is added? And I know a lot of people are talking about breakdancing, but how about another one to watch? Okay, I showed this to Randy yesterday.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's cool.
It's called kayak cross. So in a lot of the kayaking and canoeing events, it's a race against the clock, but in kayak cross, you're competing against each other. So it's 4 people, they drop them off in the ramp. It's like a little obstacle course. It's also a full contact sport.
That's what I was wondering.
So I know you're waiting for that. You can whack each other. Yes, and you have to do a full 360 spin, so head underwater at a certain point. It looks so intense. So that's one of the newer sports added this year.
I have to watch this. I can't imagine that this would not get awesome TV ratings.
Kayak cross. Once you see it, you're like, oh my gosh, this is a battle.
I'm assuming it's not a sport for the Olympics, but pickleball is not a sport this year.
Not yet, but you know it's coming.
Has to be coming, right?
USA. USA.
When did they have to decide? Well, she might be. When did they have to decide whether it's a sport or not for the upcoming, 8-year period?
It seems like it's, within that 4 to 8 year period. For example, Paris doesn't have baseball fields, so they decided, I think 6 years ago, that they weren't going to have baseball or softball for this Olympics, but it's already been determined that they're going to have it for the 2028 games in L.A.
You're asking about the sports you're looking forward to. I can't wait for golf. I'm just a fan of golf.
That'll be really fun.
But you have the pros. You got the top guys there.
And it's interesting because these guys make millions and millions and millions of dollars, but the golfers really care, and we see it in the Ryder Cup. They care about playing for their country.
Absolutely. Xander Schauffele has talked about, even with 2 majors, one of the most impactful moments of his career was winning the gold at the Olympics. So pretty cool. And
you have the Americans doing so well going into the Olympics too. So that's another exciting part. I think gymnastics is another one.
It'll be fun. Simone Biles with her last shot at a gold, and she'll probably get it. But she's great, and especially after what happened last time with her mental health issues.
Tokyo,
hopefully she'll be good to go for this one. The first big story, those cheating Canadians yesterday. An incident with the Canadian assistant's drone spying eventually spun into his arrest. A suspended jail sentence and an investigation that has reportedly uncovered years of drone spying by both the men's and women's teams in the Canadian national structure. So those cheating Canadians again.
I've always felt like with the drones now that we don't hear more about this. In other sports. Just other sports. Just put a drone over the field and, people aren't paying attention. Oh, there's a drone looking at it. You don't know if it's from the other team or not, you know?
George Allen would have done it.
What about Bill Belichick?
I was going to say, I was like, did that person work for the Patriots staff? Like, what's going on here? The drones, though, are not exactly the quietest things.
Yes, they are.
Are they?
Oh, yeah. They don't make any noise at all.
Really? The ones that I've been around have always been noticeable, I guess.
Yeah, it depends how low it is.
Yeah.
If you're pretty high, you don't really notice it. If it's low, you'll know. Like, I don't know if you remember in golf, I'm going back to it, but in the Canadian Open, Rob McIntyre was heading down the stretch, and he addressed his ball and then would step back because of the drone, and he got mad at it. He was like yelling about it, and I was sitting there thinking, man, if you're going to be a top player in the PGA Tour, you better get used to this.
Yeah.
This is how they sell the game on television. This is an essential part of their broadcast. So, you know what? Get used to it, buddy.
Yep.
Get used to it. Just don't cheat with it.
And sad news, speaking of golf, out of the golf world, as we try to get ready for the senior U.S. Open, Roderick Bastard was, did you hear this, Dan? He was in the hunt.
Oh, no.
He was literally he was trying to clinch a spot, and then he fell apart. Maybe he was just a lucky bastard to get started. I don't know. And by the way, if you ever watched him play, he's kind of a fat bastard.
Okay. Dan, what do we have coming up? What's going on here?
Anyway,
we're here till 11 today.
He's in 99th place, Roderick Bastard is, in the U.S. Open senior qualifying. Yeah, we've got Jimmy the Cat Hayes coming in the 10 o'clock hour.
We are doing an extra hour today.
We are. T-Mac has his member. And he says he's got a good chance to win it today. So good luck to Tim McKernan today as he plays golf rather than play radio.
So that means we're here till 11, which gives us an extra hour to come together and chit-chat and talk sports.
Yeah.
You're not happy about it.
He eats because he's sad, and he's sad because he eats. Rod Bastard.
I know.
Come on, man. Tell me you don't love it.
I don't love it. I don't. Yeah.
Coming up, we're going to ask Jay Delsing if he knows this gentleman. Next on 101 ESPN.
These days, everything in St. Louis costs more. But somehow Verizon costs less, as low as $50 for a single line when you switch. So while coffee is definitely costing more, Verizon costs less, and dinner on the hill for two has gotten pricey. Verizon, less pricey. Rent in Ladue, that's not coming down anytime soon. But Verizon, down, just $50 a line. Limited edition sneakers, through the roof. Verizon prices, through the floor. That designer golden doodle, so much more. A single line on Verizon, a fair bit less. Even a good old tried and true hamburger will cost you more. But with Verizon, the same good old tried and true service now costs you less. Point is, in a world that is always costing more, you can get more for less right now at a St. Louis Verizon store. $180 BYOD and $360 local promo credits applied over 36 months. For new customers with one line and your own 4G or 5G phone on unlimited welcome plan required. Additional terms apply. Auto pay and paper-free billing required. In times of congestion, unlimited 5G and 4G LTE may be temporarily slower than other traffic. Domestic data roaming at 2G speeds.
Open up your 101 mobile app for your chance to win free tickets to the Outlaw Music Festival. Featuring Willie Nelson and Family, Bob Dylan, John Mellencamp, and Southern Avenue on September 8th at Hollywood Casino Amphitheater. Get all the ticket details and get entered to win those free tickets for the Outlaw Music Festival right now, either at 101ESPN.com or on your 101 mobile app.
All right, it is time for Jay Delsing. You hear Dan and Jay every Sunday morning, 8 to 10 here on 101 ESPN with Golf with Jay Delsing. And the 2024 Senior Open is getting ready. Tee times are throughout the course of the day. And Jay Delsing with us on the celebrity line. Jay, first of all, 8:20 p.m., I guess that's a St. Louis time. No, it's not. It's local time. Tee off, which is kind of weird. But have you ever heard of this guy on the senior tour in Europe named Roderick Bastard?
I have. Good morning, and I have not. Roderick Bastard. That's a heck of a way to start the day. I don't know. I don't know about this man.
Well, and I'm just wondering, Jay, is like if he holes out from 130, and it's that guy, do you say, "Oh man, lucky bastard"? Like, do you do that?
Of course, I would.
Okay, I'm just wondering.
Why not?
Yeah. Are you? Danny just mentioned how excited he is about Olympic golf. What about you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think it's I think it's fantastic. I'm really kind of bummed that Bryson DeChambeau is not a part of the U.S. team, but it's still going to be very, very cool. I mean, to add a gold medal to anything that you do and representing your country would be just spectacular.
Jay, that's what I was going to ask you is how do you feel about Team USA's chances going into the Olympics?
Well, you know what? I don't know anything about the golf course that they're playing, Brooke, and a lot of times, you have horses for courses. I don't know how familiar. Well, I do know that the European players will have a much better chance of being familiar with a golf course because, they played on the European Tour before. So it's really about having a hot putter and who's playing well. I mean, Xander Schauffele's coming in just on fire. So he's already won a gold medal before. I look for him to be in the mix for sure. So from that respect, I really love it.
Jay, we talk so much about Scotty Scheffler and being the number one player in the world, but you can make a case that the number one season is Xander Schauffele. 2 top 10s in the majors. He's won 2 majors, and he was now has lost the label of being the guy that's the best player to never have won a major. So it's been an amazing year for him.
Oh, Denny, incredible. I mean, when you start thinking about what Scotty Scheffler's done and won 6 tournaments before the British Open, and then he may not win Player of the Year now because Schauffele's. I mean, look at Schauffele's major record. It's just incredible. I mean, I think he's got 2 wins and 2 other top 10s. Or if he didn't finish top 10 at the Masters, he was extremely close. So it's up for grabs. It's really going to be interesting to see what happens in the playoffs and see how they finish the year up because that may determine the Player of the Year. Which, if you would have said that, going in after Scheffler won his 6th event up at Travelers, we'd have said that the Player of the Year is a foregone conclusion already.
So that's a great question, though, that comes up with Schauffele winning a couple now. Who's the best player in the world right now that hasn't won a major?
Ooh, it might be Patrick Cantlay, but Patrick Cantlay's form has been really not very good. I expected him to have a much better Open Championship than he did. I know that he had a decent tournament, but I would say it might be him. Tony Finau comes to mind.
Who's had a nice year is Ludwig Oberg. I don't know if he's
absolutely.
I don't know if he's done enough to be considered that guy, but he's had a really good year this year.
And I do think he'll win a major, but it's only his first year on tour, so that label is usually given for someone that's been closer. But I would say it's probably either Cantlay or Finau.
Hey, Jay, when you go to a tournament, when is it going to start taking these players to get to 20 under and to win these tournaments? Because it's amazing how low these guys are going.
Yeah, Danny, it's really something because there's almost a mentality on the PGA Tour guys where you get to these weeks where the weather is warm, the golf course is soft, and the scores just go so incredibly low. It's a really weird mentality, but it happens all the time. I can remember when I was a kid and watching the Buick Flint tournament in Flint, Michigan. It was at Warwick Hills Country Club. And everybody shot 25 under par that week, and I thought, gosh, that golf course must be so easy. And then I went and played it as a rookie, and I'm like, this golf course is not easy at all. It's just a lot of times it's this mentality. So you've got to start thinking birdies, start thinking aggressively. And a lot of times, you go out and play 9 holes and you're even par and you feel like you've just lost, 4 or 5 strokes to the entire field. It can be really, really difficult. And if your putter is not on that week, oh, man, sometimes it's like, looks like I'm going home after Friday.
So from your perspective, how do you prepare to get or go that low, especially early on in a round?
Yeah, it's weird because what I did when I first started thinking this way, Danny, was put a lot of pressure on myself to try to hole. It's like, oh, man, I missed another, 10-foot putt. And it's more about just trying to relax and trying to free it up. And if the putts go in, they go in. And if they do, then you can start getting some momentum. But you watch guys like this week holding bunker shots and doing all these things. It's most of the stuff is out of your control. You've got to just have this mindset, though, that foot on the gas, the entire time and see what happens. I mean, if you're not playing particularly well, it's really super hard to get the double figures, much less 20 under par.
Jay, I have a science question. Are you okay with the science question?
Bring it. I'm feeling pretty
good
aggressive this morning. Let's fire away.
I like it. Okay, next week it's going to be back up in the 90s, 91, 95, and the ball really does fly when it's hot. Why does the golf ball go so much farther when it's hot outside?
It's interesting. They have this MythBusters show, and I watched this show on why the ball. Well, it's the heat, and the baseball travels further. The golf ball travels further, and the magic number is like around the low 80s, and it has something to do. This is about how much attention I paid in school as well, Randy. So I'm going to get around, and that's why I took blue book. I needed blue books when I was taking tests because I'm going to get around this answer, and there's going to be somebody out that's listening that's going to correct me. But it has something to do when it's hot, and when it's hot, there's moisture in the air, and somehow it makes the ball go further. I have no idea. You'd think that there'd be more drag against the ball as it flew through the air with moisture in the air, and it's not. It's the opposite. And that's a terrible answer, but I know that's somewhere close to being right.
We've got...
I sucked at science.
No, you didn't. We've got Ian Woosnam on the show this weekend, Jay, and he was 5'5", and you were known as a guy that could bomb it when you were on tour, and you're around 6'5", 6'6". How does a guy that's 5'5" bomb the ball as well as he did? I mean, just the general golfers sometimes you're seeing aren't the biggest guys. They're not the tallest guys. They don't get the torque that a taller guy does, but how does a guy 5'5" bomb it as long as he did?
It's another one of those science questions, Danny. It just used to aggravate the hell out of me. The reason is they twitch fast. They turn fast. They really can swing the head of the golf club with a lot of speed. Like Justin Thomas is 150 pounds and crushes it. But Woozy was 5'5". I mean, and he wasn't exactly fit, back in the day, but he's a hell of an athlete, great hand-eye coordination, and it used to just aggravate me to stand next to him and watch how much further he could hit it than I did. I'm like, how the hell does he do that? So I really don't know how, other than he was a great player. What's interesting about Ian Woosnam, guys, is he was one of the big five that played over in Europe. You've got Seve Ballesteros, Bernard Langer, Ian Woosnam, Sandy Lyle, and Nick Faldo. All five of those guys basically put the European Tour on the map. They were all born within 12 months of each other, and Sandy Lyle and Ian Woosnam grew up together. They grew up 10 minutes apart from each other. So those guys were the people that put European golf on the map, and they really were responsible for the rise in the Ryder Cup. Because you got to remember, initially the Ryder Cup was only Great Britain and Ireland versus the U.S., and it was never much of a competition because those guys weren't turning out great players. Bernard Langer came around from Germany. Then you had Seve coming around from Spain, Olazabal, guys like that, and it blew up the European Tour, and it really made the Ryder Cup interesting.
We're looking forward to the show on Sunday morning with you two guys. And Jay, you have a wonderful weekend, sir.
Appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. You're the best. Jay Delsing with us on 101 ESPN.
We should mention that the Ascension Charity Classic on August 7th, they do their big breakfast, and it's Champions Breakfast, and they've added Ozzie Smith and Judy Rankin will be in town. So those two will be headlining that breakfast coming up on August 7th, and I think there's still just a handful of tickets ready for that, and that kind of kicks off the Ascension.
Very nice.
I love the Ascension Charity Classic. It's always so much fun every single year.
Should be a lot of fun again this year. Coming up, one player who doesn't appear to have an awful lot of power may have changed the dynamics of this entire trade deadline. That's next on 101 ESPN.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The games of the 33rd Olympiad officially start today. Also, your St. Louis Cardinals are back in action as they start a 3-game series against the Washington Nationals. It'll be Sonny Gray on the bump for the Cardinals, facing off against the lefty for the Nationals, Mackenzie Gore. Gore on the season, 6-8 with a 4.20 ERA. That is your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
Major League Baseball's trade deadline is Tuesday at 5 o'clock St. Louis time, and one of the big names so far in trade deadline discussions has been White Sox left-hander Garrett Crochet, who has had a magnificent season so far, but has also spent his first year as a starter. John Heyman of the New York Post writing that Crochet's plan is to keep starting for the White Sox or whomever acquires him for health maintenance purposes, but only to pitch in October if there's an extension. So, if you're a team that is planning on getting Garrett Crochet because you want to make a playoff run, it seems like he has laid down the gauntlet here, that if you're going to get me and you want me to pitch in October, you better show me the money.
I feel like this really changes the trade deadline because, of course, we knew that he was the big name that everybody was looking at for starting pitching to be moved at the trade deadline. And he has pitched over 100 innings, I believe, so far, definitely going way past what he has done in his career before. I was thinking that if he was traded, then the team could keep him in the bullpen. That way, when it got close to the playoffs, you could ramp him back up. But now that seems like that's completely off the table. Does this really make teams a lot more hesitant to go out and trade for him?
Well, why would you go trade for him if you want him in your bullpen?
Well, because I'm thinking because he has pitched over his limit or what he's been able to do in his career innings-wise. And so then you put him in the bullpen to make sure that he's fully healthy going into the playoffs.
I don't agree with that. I would, if I'm going to get him, he's a starter, and I look at point A being case A would be Matthew Liberatore, swinging from bullpen to starter. And the only reason I say that, Brooke, is just guys are creatures of habit.
Yeah.
And to disrupt that, I can understand why he'd say, I'm not coming out of a bullpen because I'm going to keep myself healthy. And I understand that. I agree with him in that regard. And he holds the cards in this, though, for him to say, I'm not coming out of a bullpen. Now, let me throw this at you. If it's game 6 and you're facing elimination and you say, Garrett, we need you to come out of the bullpen, and he says no, then I got a real problem with that.
Yeah.
If you acquire a guy, though, in the whole idea is to bolster your rotation. And I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
I really do. I just think that if you acquire him, it's to be a starter. He's got to start, and he goes every 5th day. And he's got a lot riding on the line, too. The team goes out, gives up a lot to go get him, but he's really good, and he's got to worry about his career, too, and he's young. And so I'm sitting there saying, absolutely. If I'm him, I'm going to control it this way, and I'm going to control the narrative because, in a way, he does have himself in the driver's seat for this.
And he's a product of pitchers being babied and babying himself. He was drafted in 2018, and in the White Sox system, he threw 63 2/3. 2019, 65 innings. 2020, 6 innings. 2021, 54 1/3, and now all of a sudden he's up at 111 1/3. He's never pitched, at least in pro ball, to the level of innings that he is at right now and scheduled to pitch at, and he's, for lack of a better term, he's been babied all of his career, and the arm is still being babied, and he thinks that somehow that he's not capable of being a horse. Here's a guy that is 6'6" and 245. He's telling me now he can't be a horse? Fine. If you don't want to compete in October, buddy, stay with the White Sox.
This is how good he's been. I knew we were going to talk about Garrett Crochet. This is an amazing stat to me, and doing some research. 73% of the swings at Garrett Crochet's pitches this season have not resulted in the ball being put in play. I mean, he has been, he's the number one guy out there to go get him if you can and you're a team in contention. But I'm with you, Randy. I mean, if you don't want the ball, then, and if that's what you're saying to an extent.
Can you imagine saying, I'm not going to pitch in October. I'm not going to pitch
That's
in
crazy
when it's the most important time of year.
And we went out and got you specifically for October.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're supposed to help us. That's what we want. Yeah, I'd have a problem with that.
And that's what I'm saying is that how much does that concern teams when they are looking at the trade deadline and acquiring a pitcher like him?
I think the thing that would make me of concern is the fact that he says, because I bet you can convince him and it changes scenery and get into a pennant race, and then he gets caught up in that a little bit. Mm-hmm. But the thing that would concern me, Brooke, is if he says, I have to have an extension right now. Well, you're under cost control, and that's one of the reasons that we had to give up some of our top prospects and top players to go get you. I understand where he's coming from. He controls the cards to an extent, but if you're a team, that's one of the reasons you go get him, not only for the now, but cost control, and that means financially in control too.
By the way, if you're the White Sox and you drafted this guy, and I misspoke, the 63 and 65 innings were at the University of Tennessee in 18 and 19. So, and he pitched in 20 in the COVID year and was drafted in 20. So you drafted this guy in 2020, and he is 25 years old, and you've got 4 years of control left. If you're the White Sox, why would you want to trade him?
Yeah, and maybe because you're just saying we're so bad that we just need bodies. You know what I mean? But I'm with you, Randy. I mean, I've thought about this too, is like if you're going to get out of this rut that you're in, you still need to have players, and you got to have good ones. He's a good one.
Yeah.
Why would you give him up?
Yeah, you'd have actually 2 years of control, 25 and 26, but still, why not get some pitching out of him?
I'm with you.
And to go back to the initial point, Brooke, you hit it right on the head. He changes the dynamic to me of the trade deadline, because if you're the Dodgers, well, maybe the Dodgers are a different animal because they would probably give him
you a 10-year extension.
Yeah, we'll give him the extension. But for most teams that are interested in him, they probably aren't going to sign him before the end of the season.
And that's what I'm trying to figure out here is there's two observations, right? You could say good for Crochet that he wants to have financial security. As you mentioned, 2 years of control, but he wants security beyond that to make sure that he can stay with the team of, okay, if I'm going to do this for you, then I want to make sure that I'm staying here and I have some more control. But then you can also look at it and say, well, I wouldn't trade for him knowing all of these demands if you're on the other side there. So I don't know how other teams will look at this when they're approaching the trade deadline.
I wonder what the value would be. Like if you had to extend him, how much further would you have to go? You'd probably 5-6 year deal. Look at what happened in free agency this last season, and I'm not sure teams want to really have the appetite to do that. And going back to your point, Randy, if 2 years of control, maybe the White Sox just don't want to pay him.
Yeah,
and maybe it just comes down they just don't want to pay him.
And I wonder. I would look at it from this perspective. If I'm the Cardinals or any other organization, pragmatically, and it might not be the smart thing, but do I want to give a 6-year contract for big money, because you're probably talking
150 maybe?
Yeah, 100, 150. And he's made 21 career starts. So do you want to risk that with that lack of knowledge that you have?
And that's why I brought up the bullpen, because that was something that was floating around there with a lot of teams, because a lot of people, according to reports, the teams are concerned about the usage down the stretch and the really enormous jump in his workload that we've seen. I mean, and especially if you add an extension on top of this, I can understand why teams would be even more hesitant, because they want somebody, if you're bringing somebody in, not only in October, but to make sure that you're able to work with this guy moving forward.
Yeah. That being said, before you text in, if you offer me Paul Skeens and I offer him a 7-year contract, I'm happy with it.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd take that any day.
I was actually thinking about that. Like if Skeens came to me and said, let's do an extension, I'd be like, okay, where do you want to start? Let's go.
Yeah, 12 starts. Yeah, but we'll sign you to an extension, buddy.
Yeah.
And there was history, though, with Crochet where he wasn't this good.
Right.
Exactly.
That's the other thing is like, let's see it more than just 1 year before we hand over this kind of money. And going back to your bullpen thing, Brooke, and I understand where you're coming from, and it makes sense. Then I would say, okay, well then how much can I use you out of the bullpen? Can I use you back-to-back days? Can I use you 3 times out of the week?
Yeah.
So what am I getting here to sit there and justify what I had to give up to go get him? It just wouldn't make sense. I would say, okay, you're in our rotation, but in terms of trying to get you a contract that you don't have, you're using your leverage to an extent, but we also have the main leverage, which is we have you under contract for 2 years. So if you don't want to play, then don't play. But if you want to get paid for the next 2 years, you got to play.
Yeah. 3 years of college for Crochet, 4.64 earned run average in the SEC. In the minors, a season in the minors, a 4.38 earned run average. But since he got to the majors, to his credit, his earned run average has been 2.93.
That to me, if you acquired him, that's what makes it so likable. Is like, okay, we get this guy down the stretch. He's been awesome this year. And oh, by the way, we got 2 more years.
Yeah, that's the key. Yeah, because you get 3 pennant races with him if you're a good organization.
100%.
That's Dan. That's Brooke. I'm Randy. Coming up, get your text into the Air Comfort Service text line, 314-399-9646, 314-399.
Yo-ho. Jumped right on it.
You were awesome.
Just jumped right on it.
Take it or leave it. Next on 101 ESPN.
Take it or leave it.
Want to say something? Want to put it out there? You like
it, you can take it. If you don't, send it right back.
Get your text into 314-399-9646 and give us your take it or leave it.
Brought to you by Gloria Lou Realty. Visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com and start packing.
That's my final offer. Take it or leave it.
Brooke Grimsley, Dan McLaughlin, Matthew Rocchio, Randy Carricker. Time for TIOLI. Okay, guys, yesterday we did the segment about if you could undo any trade that your favorite team has ever made. And a lot of people said Alcantara and Gallen. Take it or leave it, though. If today, for tonight's game and the rest of this season and years ahead, if you were offered Marcell Ozuna or Alcantara and Gallen for this team, you would take Ozuna.
I'm going to leave it.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave it. Then it would allow me healthy Alcantara, right?
No, right now.
Oh, right now.
Oh, come on. In this fictional universe, we want that
trade.
fantasy.
I mean, Alcantara's hurt. Fact of the matter, it is what it is.
Give me the big bat. That's what they need.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd take that right-handed bat right now.
Yeah, and Gallen, by the way, is healthy.
Yeah. Right now,
Yep.
I'd take the big bat.
Yep, and for the with the contracts that they have, Ozuna's under contract, Alcantara's under contract, Gallen. So you can have one of those items. You can from the trade that you made, you can either have Ozuna back or you can have Alcantara, Gallen, Christian, whatever his name is, and Magnolia Sierra back. You can have one of those entities for this team and going forward.
Give me that big bat.
Me too.
Yeah, that's what you need right at this moment.
Well, now, hold on now. You said going forward. So we're talking next year, too?
Well, you're getting the contracts, yeah. You get the players under contract.
There's a lot of stipulations to this, Dan.
No, so you get the players now. Okay, Alcantara, I think, is in the midst of a 6-year contract, right?
6 years, and it's very affordable. I think $50 million.
Yep. And Gallen, I think, has a contract, and Ozuna has a contract. So, no, it is what you would have if you were given the players today.
I'm going back with the pitchers.
Okay.
I'm going back with, I'll get Alcantara then for an extended period of time. Gallen's been okay. I'm going to go with, give me those pitchers back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, looking at it now, and when you put those other stipulations in there, Randy,
there are no stipulations.
Yeah, well, I'm talking about in the fantasy world, then I would also want a healthy Sandy Alcantara because that really just adds to it.
Yeah,
but
wouldn't we all?
Still, yes.
Yeah, okay, then Marcell Ozuna never got in trouble either. Right?
There's so many things that happen.
So you're understanding what you're acquiring here.
Yeah, right.
I'm going to go with the pitching.
By the way, since he left the Cardinals, Marcell Ozuna has an 855 OPS.
Oh, man.
He's led the league in homers twice. He's had 116 homers. He has 269 batting average, 349 on base, 514 slug. And this year, for this team, for the rest of the season, you'd get a guy that leads the league in RBIs with 80. He's at 28 homers, 80 RBIs, and has a 966 OPS this year. That's what you'd be adding to your lineup.
It's pretty good.
Pretty good.
Give him credit. He's been very, very good.
He has.
If only that worked out with the Cardinals while he was here.
Yeah, just stay out of fights on the east side. Come on.
Yeah,
and
that'd be good.
Don't get fat and don't show up with shoulder injuries. All those things.
Yeah, those are all.
Don't climb walls.
Don't get accused of felonies. Don't get accused of felonies.
Yeah, all of those things.
Yeah. All right. Take it or leave it. I'm going to switch things up here. Get out of sports just for 1 second because this is breaking big news. Southwest announcing that they will now have assigned seating. Take it, you like it. Leave it, you hate it.
I'm gonna leave it. I don't like it. I hate it. I prefer the GA, general admission.
I'm with you. You get in there early, and then you can get the exit row, so you get a little bit more leg room. Now, Southwest Airlines said they're going to revamp some of their seating to give you more leg room, too.
Nice.
Have heard that. So I like that part of it, but I just like getting on there, getting your seat, and moving on.
I love the play on Southwest of checking a bag and only taking like a book and getting the very first seat you see, sometimes in the front row.
Yep.
Some people, though, they get very feisty about the seating. So I almost like the security of knowing your seat, just like the other airlines, and just taking that seat.
Don't you like being able to pick who you're sitting next to, though, as you're walking down? See, I don't want to sit next to that.
There's always so many open middle seats is the thing.
But that's the thing. And just think about some of the two people on each side.
You get smushed.
Yeah.
I think that's where you're going here.
That's where I'm going here, Dan.
Okay.
I wish more planes were two seat rows instead of 3.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Oh, that'd be great.
But the more legroom is a good thing, but it doesn't matter to me. It's I can handle the legroom now on Southwest. I'm good with it. I like what they do. I'm a fan.
Except for this now.
Jack Flaherty this year, guys, with the Detroit Tigers is 8th in the American League in ERA. He's 3rd in WHIP, 2nd in strikeouts per 9, 4th in walks per 9. Take it or leave it, Jack Flaherty is actually a perfect candidate for what the Cardinals need in their rotation.
I'll take it.
I'll take it, especially a true rental for them. It
That
makes
would be a true
lot of
rental.
sense.
Yep.
I don't think it happens, but that's the profile of what they need.
Take it or leave it. Flaherty gets a $100 million contract after this season.
I'm going to leave it. I think there's enough body of work where he was too injured and ineffective for a while, and maybe some teams look at this as being an outlier. I think he gets paid. I don't know if he'd get $100 million, though.
So it was Rodon.
Yeah,
that
good example.
He was injured all the time. Had the one good last year with the White Sox. Signed, I think, for 44 over 2 with the Giants. Had the opt-out and then got 160 over 6.
See, I think more of the 44 for 2 would be in the ballpark and then kind of see how it plays out. I don't think teams would have an appetite to give him, unless you're the Dodgers. Get a local kid, have him come back. You don't have to worry if he gets hurt.
Yeah.
You swallow the money if he's not effective or he gets hurt, and they don't really care.
But they have like 10 guys already.
I know. Why not make it 11?
They're just collecting them all.
Yeah,
I mean, why not?
it's amazing. When you think about next year, Ohtani, Yamamoto, Bueller, Class now. They'll get Gonsolin back. They've got the 2 kids that just made their debuts. River Reed or whatever his name was. They have Dustin.
Big redheaded
kid.
kid.
Dustin May. They're loaded. They've got tons of guys coming back. Emmett Sheehan, Michael Grove. They're Bobby Miller.
It's ridiculous.
It's crazy.
It is.
Yeah. Matthew, what do you got on the text line?
Take it or leave it. Darkness retreats lead to no good things.
I'm going to leave that.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I guess the jury is still out on this.
It is.
Because it didn't work last year.
For Rodgers, but I'm sure
it.
it's worked for somebody somewhere along the line. Otherwise, they wouldn't keep doing it.
Yeah, if anything, the Rodgers thing has taught us darkness retreats don't make your ankle stronger.
That's true. Or your Achilles.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was even when I named my fantasy football team last year. It was Aaron Rodgers' Darkness Retreat, and it did not. It did not pan out well. Yeah.
Is it 4 days in darkness? Is it 4 days? Is that what it is?
I think so.
I could not handle 4 days in darkness. I could not.
Where do you go to do this?
You're not. It's not just.
You have to go to another country and be like in a dungeon or something.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure
he
you're on
never revealed, right?
Pretty sure you're on some other, substances at the same time.
that's
Randy.
true, yeah.
I think that helps you get through the time.
So if you wanted to do this darkness retreat, you could do it anywhere. Just sit in a basement.
So it
But
was.
you gotta have a TV.
So he was meditating while trying to avoid walking to the walls of his roughly 300 square foot cabin in this darkness retreat. And remember, I had a photo, and it was like kind of like it looked like a little hut. That was my photo for my fantasy football team name.
I am such an outdoors person. I would hate spending 4 days in darkness. I have enough trouble spending, like during the winter, 4 days inside.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Are you really an outdoors guy? I see you more as like a basement guy with all the TVs going and every sport that you can imagine.
At night, but if given the choice between being in my basement or going for a bike ride, I'm taking the bike ride or golf.
Okay.
He's like Batman at night.
Really?
In his bat cave with all the TVs.
Oh, yeah.
But it's sports.
How many TVs you got going at night?
Normally it's 2, but if necessary, I can get up to 4. But that would include a television or a computer screen, the laptop going.
If I could ask, please.
Yeah.
So what 4 do you have going? I'm curious.
Well, so I'm sitting in front of a 75, and then to my left there's a 55, and then there's a little 32 that sits to the right, and then if necessary for a 4th, you've got a laptop screen.
Okay, so on the big one,
right in front of me.
Okay, what rank them? Like, give me. You got Monday Night Football, maybe a. Let's say a MLB playoff game, hockey is getting going. What do you got going here?
Let's just assume we have no local teams, okay?
And that's where I was going.
Okay, we've got no local teams. I'm going to have Monday Night Football probably in front of me because so let's say football, two playoff baseball games and a hockey game, okay? The hockey game is going to be on the smaller one. I'll probably have football in front of me and then baseball games on the other 2 screens, on the other 2 television screens.
That's probably where I would go to.
Yeah.
All right. I like it. Are you into that, Brooke, too?
Yeah. That's a lot
one on your
happening
phone,
at once.
one on computer, one on TV.
I've done phone and TV at the same time.
My son Patrick is a multitasker, and he can have 5. And
He's a smart kid.
That's the thing. He can have 5 and watch all of them effectively at once and tell you exactly what's going on with all of them.
That's incredible.
I can't do that.
I can't either. It's amazing.
Take it or leave it. Scott Perunovich is the Blues' second leading scorer for a defenseman.
Take it.
I'm going to leave it. He's got to shoot the puck.
Shoot the puck.
Shoot
And
the
he has to
puck.
stay healthy.
Who do you got as number 1, by the way? Parayko?
The texter didn't have that.
That's where I am.
But
I would think Parayko.
Yep.
yeah,
Not Falk.
him or Falk.
Not Krug.
Letty.
Not,
It could be Falk.
No.
I think.
Definitely not Krug. That's a good guess.
He go.
I think Falk's not. I think Falk would be. I think it would be naturally be Parayko or Falk.
Yeah, I
I
think
can't really
Parayko.
imagine who else would be number 1.
Yeah, I kind of.
Well, who knows? Tyler Tucker might surprise
Justin
us
Falk
this
is a
year.
really good player. Really good player. But he's not a number 1. I think we've learned that to this point, right? He's probably a player that you can win with, but he's not the player you're going to win because of.
Take it or leave it. The most intriguing player you're hoping to watch with the Blues this year is Suter. He's nasty.
Yeah, there's intrigue there. For me, if he makes the team, the most intriguing guy is Dvorsky.
Yeah, the young guys have to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I just like seeing rusty nails, old dudes get out there, mix it up a little bit. I like those guys.
He'll essentially be another Bortuzzo out there.
Well, hopefully he'll be like the Will Clark of hockey.
Okay.
That stretch was pretty good by Will Clark.
Remember when Matheny would he called John Lackey Old Crusty.
Yeah. I like it when they say you got to have a rusty nail. You got to have a rusty nail in
Gotta have a
there.
little sandpaper, eh?
Yeah, that's right, eh?
They definitely need that.
Yeah,
That
they
was
do,
missing
definitely.
last year.
Yeah. And I don't know if the kids these days, I don't know if kids bring sandpaper to the table.
There is some guys across the league that you're
Neighbors
seeing.
does.
Yeah. He calls himself a throwback player.
Yeah.
I like that.
I was going to say that Jake Neighbors would be my guy. Just because he's willing to take the abuse to score goals, he'd be my guy.
This is why the Kachuk brothers are
dirty
such
goals.
valuable commodities in hockey.
Yes.
Because they bring it too. They've got that demeanor and attitude. And that's why the Panthers win. And ultimately, whoever Brady is on, once he gets to a more functional organization, maybe new ownership will provide that in Ottawa. But once Brady is put in a situation to win, he'll lift that team to victory.
The mean streak. That's what you're talking about. We talk about it all the time of guys where, of course, they all want to win, but the ones who really hate losing. And the Kachucks have that.
Bryce Harper made that point about the Phillies, and I loved it during the All-Star game. He said, we all enjoy winning, but we all hate losing. That's where champions are born.
I saw somebody say, and I don't know if I necessarily disagree with it, and he said that the face of baseball is Bryce Harper, even more so than Ohtani.
I think it is.
I kind of do too. Now, when Ohtani goes back on the mound, then he's such a freak of nature, then I go back to it.
Yeah.
But just being a DH, not to say that Bryce Harper is making a massive difference defensively. He's a good player, but he's kind of the face of this thing. Because he's going to be in postseason play again. Not that Ohtani won't be, but Harper, because of the resume that he put together and being the chosen one,
And he's
on the cover of
postseason
Sports.
stud.
Yes, he's
Ohtani
awesome.
hasn't had a chance to do it in the postseason yet.
There you go. That's a good point.
By the way, the Cardinals are going to honor the 2004 National League Championship team tonight and the 1964 World Championship team. Tickets available. Go to Cardinals.com. And the best Cardinal team I think that, Dan, you and I have ever seen was the 2004 team. But you were around that clubhouse a lot. I was not around that clubhouse a lot. But knowing the players from that team, when you talk about Roland, Renteria quietly, Tony Womack, Pujols, Roland, Jimmy Edmonds, Reggie Sanders, Yachty,
Larry Walker.
Yeah, a group of people. You talk about hating losing, and it's a lot of fun when Brooke, it was unbelievable. If you looked at the standings during the summer of 2004, you go to that last column on the right, last 10. The entire summer, it was 8-2. It was unbelievable.
And they never, ever changed their starting pitching.
No.
Those guys stayed healthy for the better part of the season, and I think it was a doubleheader in which Danny Herron was brought up against the Pittsburgh Pirates, and that was like the first time in the season, and it was late in the season that they went to a different pitcher, which is just, in this day and age, man. I mean, look at the Milwaukee Brewers, 16 different starters, and they're in first place.
And Izzy was the closer on that team. Point being, though, it was a highly competitive group of guys. In addition to the talent, because you had probably four Hall of Famers, Yachty, Pujols, Roland, Albert, Edmonds should be. But in your starting 8, you had 4 Hall of Famers. But in addition to the talent, they were highly, highly competitive.
And it really started with a guy that was in dark glasses in that dugout.
No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt.
He was pretty competitive.
Yep. And he's going to be in town tonight, too. So if you get a chance and you want to celebrate that 04 team, it was pretty much fun. Coming up next on 101 ESPN, with the trade deadline Tuesday, how important are the next 4 games for the Cardinals? That's coming your way here on 101 ESPN.
Perspective on today's top stories. This is Fresh Take.
Presented by Lindenwood University. Real experience, real success.
Starting play today, the Cardinals are 6 games out of the lead in the National League Central. They're a half game behind the Padres for the 3rd wild card spot in the National League, a game behind the Mets. There are 4 games to go before the trade deadline. The Cardinals will play 3 against the Nationals, and then they'll have 1 of their 3 against the Rangers before the trade deadline on Tuesday. So with that being the case, how important are these 4 games? Could this determine the level of aggressiveness for the Cardinals. Not that it'll determine whether they'll sell or buy, but if they would lose 2 of these 4 before the All-Star break, could that change the way Mo and the organization approach Tuesday at 5 o'clock? I think it could. I think the Cardinals, if Milwaukee goes on a run and they're 8 games out of the division, and all of a sudden you're 2.5 out, the Padres get hot and you're 2.5 out of the last wild card spot, I would think that could change the Cardinals' approach on Tuesday.
I think it could, especially, and also you throw the Pirates into that mix as well. The Padres, with what they've been doing, we talked about Dylan Cease earlier. I think it could really change things just because of how tight things have been in that National League wild card race. It almost feels like winning the division could be the Cardinals' best shot, which I know that you can't really determine that unless they just really go on a run where they're, what was that the other day, that person who said the 10-game win streak was what they were predicting for the Cardinals?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If you go on some sort of run
one
like that.
Yeah.
But at this point, I think that maybe you know what this team needs, but these next few games could really determine how aggressive their approach is.
I don't think it matters. I think they know what they have to have, and whether or not they go 0 for 4 in these next 4 games, if we're talking about it, they know. They know what they need. And I know what you're saying about then all of a sudden you drop in the standings. But I think you owe it to your fan base. You owe it to the team to try to go out and get something. And to me, the Pittsburgh series was a microcosm of where they're at. They needed high leverage in the first game out of their bullpen. Second game, even though it's Skeens, they do need some kind of offense. And then the third game against left-handed pitching, they've been awful. They're at the bottom of just about every category against left-handed pitching. They need a right-handed bat. So, I don't know. I think that they'll be hanging around enough in both the division and both the wild card where they say, we got to go for it. It's something we got to do. We still have some head-to-head with Milwaukee, and maybe the best way to look at it, you're right, Brooke, and that's the way I do it too, is go get the division. And if you go get the division, at least play up to those standards to be close, you should be in the wild card race before it's all said and done.
And if Yelich is out for the year, that should color how they approach the deadline too, because the Brewers are a whole lot more beatable if Christian Yelich isn't in their lineup.
Yeah, that makes a huge difference. And somehow they've been able to stay afloat with a crazy amount of injuries that they've had to their pitching staff. We've talked about that a lot. I don't know how they're able to accomplish this so far, but losing Christian Yelich is a huge loss for that team. So if the Cardinals, I kind of see blood in the water there where you need to go out and make some aggressive moves. I'm just interested to say that things just do not continue in the right direction. Does that change? Is that how that works, where it could change in Mo's mind, or for any GM where they'd say, well, I don't know if this is actually a team we could, trade off some pieces for?
I think to Dan's point, and I don't know if I do know the Cardinals want to protect their kids, but the Cardinals also are, because they're the team that did it, they still think that 2011 can happen all the time because it did. And so regardless of how far out they are, I think they're going to be informed by what happened in 2011 and still try to go for it, even though it might be on a what we think is a minimal level. Like when they made the trade for all those relievers, who was Dotel, who was Mark Zepchinski, who was Arthur Rhodes, and he'd just been around for 900 years. And then Edwin Jackson was just a guy, right? When they got all those guys, they were just guys, but they wound up being a bullpen.
And that's where I'm going, is my number one thing. I think that they need to get their bullpen. I think that would be very important, and I don't think you can be a prisoner of the moment. Even if you go 0 for 4 in these 4 games, they pretty much know where they're at and make those adjustments as they go. And I know that Matthew Rocchio is telling us we need to go.
We do, because John Morosi of MLB Network is going to talk more trade deadline with us next on 101 ESPN. Now I can talk. We're awaiting a phone call from JP Morosi of MLB Network, who's going to join us for a few minutes, talk the trade deadline. At least we hope he's going to call in and to talk trade deadline with us on 101 ESPN. JP Morosi, by the way, a college classmate of one Ben Boyd of the Cardinals, who used to work here at 101 ESPN. Ben was a BU guy, a Boston U guy, and they were at the Boston Globe as interns or entry-level employees together.
I did not know that.
Yeah, how about that?
Yeah.
Ben is great.
He's fantastic.
Been around forever.
And apparently JP Morosi is just as nice a guy. I don't know if he could be just as nice a guy as Ben Boyd. But
Ben Boyd's very nice.
Very nice guy.
Yeah, and he brought us donuts the last time that he came here to the studio.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Who did he bring in?
That was Benji. That was with him.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Ben doing a great job of managing the Cardinal Network, Cardinal Radio Network over at Busch Stadium.
I got a little edge to me this morning, guys. My back is locked up.
How long you had that?
And that's about 24 hours.
Oh.
Yeah, we're not going to go with the rack. I'm not doing it.
Dan, I was scared for a moment. I thought that you were playing right into it.
I didn't mean to, and then when it came out of my mouth, I'm like, oh, God, here we go. Here we go. Sorry, I just had to throw that out there.
So that's why you have the edge to you, huh?
Yeah. Do I seem like I got a little edge?
Yeah, you do. How does it feel right now as we speak?
I keep maneuvering in my my chair, trying to get the right feel. And I needed to stop so I can go play golf later. These are very important things.
Stuff, yeah.
These are very important things.
We're getting to the root of this now.
Exactly.
I knew that we were going somewhere with this.
Sorry.
I had severe back pain as a teenager, and it's the worst pain I've ever endured. Jack Buck had to miss playoffs because of sciatica, because of the nerve back. I really think that the worst pain that I've ever had, way worse than breaking the wrists, was dealing with my back as a teenager.
You think about all the things you got to do with a back or bad back. You gotta walk. You gotta reach for things. You try to sit down. Yeah. My back is cracking. Yeah, it's just not good.
Strength training. I used to deal with sciatica too, and strength training helped me out a lot. So go lift some weights.
That's probably what I need to do.
Yeah.
But I don't really want to do that.
Why not? It's good for you.
I know. That's the whole point. It's probably good for me, and I don't want to do it.
It will help with your golf game,
That's
too.
true. That is very true.
Hit the ball further, stronger.
Maybe I need to get
Look
more.
Look at Brooks Koepka, by the way. I mean, he has big arms.
He is big.
Yes.
And DeChambeau.
True.
He's not as big as he was, though.
Yeah, remember he lost all that weight.
Yeah.
Tiger. Yep. It's another one.
Dan McLaughlin, Brooke Grimsley, Randy Carricker, 101 ESPN in St. Louis. And we go to the celebrity line now. And JP Morosi of MLB Network, as a matter of fact, he's going to be on MLB Network in just a few minutes, joins us. Good morning, sir. How you doing?
Good morning. Happy trade deadline weekend to all of you.
Same to you, JP. And let's touch on the Cardinals first. You're talking to a St. Louis audience. What are you hearing about the Cardinals, if anything?
Well, I think that with the Cardinals, maybe you add in one more arm to the bullpen. I think that might be one way to keep building out the bridge to Halsey. But you could always add one more arm. I think that's obviously kind of the standard answer for most teams. But I look at the Cardinals as being a team that's in a lot of ways with the current group of position players performed pretty well, with the exception, obviously, you would expect more from Arenado and Goldschmidt over the course of the season. But I think you got a young center fielder in Ciani, who I think is one of the best defenders in the game. I think you keep him right there. Don't worry about making any adjustments there. So I think in general, it seems like to me this is a team that might add an arm or two, but in general, the larger, big sweeping changes might have to wait for the offseason.
JP, thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you have a lot of coffee to go for the rest of this weekend with the trade deadline coming up. I wanted to ask you about, you're talking about specifically an arm, so you're thinking bullpen or starting rotation or both?
I think both. I mean, at this point, if you're looking at a team that could potentially advance through the postseason and where they're at right now in the central race and where they're at in the wild card in particular, which is wide open when you think about how, I think especially one of the big changes that I've noticed in the last little bit with the National League wildcard race is what's happened to the Braves. And they lost again last night. They're only a game and a half into the playoffs at this moment in time, and they are just taking on water with the way the Braves have played lately. So I think there's a lot of opportunity there. We just saw the Diamondbacks add A.J. Puck. They're right now still on the outside of the playoff picture looking in, but they're the reigning National League champs. So I think it's such a wide open race that if you're going to make that move, if you're the Cardinals, maybe you get a starting pitcher who maybe would miss some more bats, more of a strikeout type pitcher to go along with what's been, I think, a really pretty stable rotation overall this season.
JP, great to hear your voice. I was curious about right-handed bats, and maybe if you can just run down a list of some that might be a fit for the Cardinals.
Yeah, Dan, great to hear your voice as well. I think that, one thought, it's an interesting one maybe for Cardinal fans here, but I look at Lane Thomas with the Nationals, potentially somebody that we could see added into the mix there. I agree with you. I think in general, if the Cardinals add a bat, it should be a right-handed bat. It's interesting. I don't think he'd be available, but I'd love him for the Cardinals. Is Matt Vierling in Detroit? Of course, he's a St. Louis guy. He can move around the diamond for you. I would expect the Tigers will want to keep him long term, but he would be a guy that for me, the Cardinals and Tigers could be a pretty good trade combination because of what the Tigers have to offer. Mark Canha might fit that description as well as a veteran right-handed bat, who I think would really add a lot to the Cardinal lineup, to a good veteran in the clubhouse as well. So I would think if you're talking to the Tigers, they might say, hey, we would listen on Canha and not as much on Vierling, even though I think Vierling, for a number of reasons, would be a tremendous fit in St. Louis.
JP, so many teams in the race to make the playoffs in both leagues. Who are you hearing is super aggressive right now? Who's just talking to everybody?
Well, I think, first of all, the Mariners, we saw the deal in the last 24 hours with Arozarena. I think that, to me, is exactly what the Mariners had to do. They've been in desperation mode to add offense. I mean, they're losing so many games 2-1, 3-2, 3-1. They need probably two or three more bats. They need their internal guys to get better. Julio Rodriguez is on the injured list right now, as is J.P. Crawford. So I think the Mariners right now are very aggressive on bats. I think Baltimore is going to be aggressive on arms, both starters and relievers. We've seen Kimbrel struggle a bit here recently. We know that they've been in there on every big-time arm in terms of the rotation pieces. I think it was interesting to hear the report from John Heyman yesterday about Garrett Crochet and not being comfortable going and pitching into the postseason because of an innings limit. I think that really changes the calculus there to where the White Sox might have to get Eric Fetty out there to potentially be aggressive and market him. Where honestly, I think Fetty could work for the Cardinals. He could work for a number of teams because he's a very stable guy that gets you deep into games. The Dodgers, I know Kershaw just got back, so they're probably excited about him, but they still need one more starting pitcher, in my estimation. The Yankees desperately need some help on the offensive side of things. You look at, I think the Cubs could be a good fit for the Yankees with a Mike Tauchman maybe or a Nico Horner. I'm just saying a lot of teams. It's interesting. It's rare that you see this many teams who are in a playoff position now have needs that are this obvious and this clear. Baltimore needing pitching, the Yankees needing bats, the Mariners needing bats in the worst way. It's a pretty interesting trade deadline because I think you're seeing some clear needs from a number of contending teams.
JP Morosi, we know that you have to do a television hit. We appreciate your time this morning, and we will be watching and paying attention to MLB Network, and we know that you'll be part of MLB Network's call of the Yanks and Phils on Monday night. That'll be a great time. And Tuesday's trade deadline coverage, so you're going to be a busy man.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I tell you what, it's once I get on that plane to Philly on Sunday, it's basically I have to sort of reverse all the advice I give to my kids about not being on screens and no screen time. It's like for 3 days, it's going to be a lot of screen time for Dad.
All right. And by the way, JP, our buddy Ben Boyd, who is a former 101er, and you know him well, he texted and said to say hi.
All right. Well, tell Ben thank you. We worked together back in college. We were both clerks together at the Boston Globe. So Ben and I go way, way back. We were riding the subway down to work at the Globe together back in the day. So tell Ben I said this hello as well.
Will do. Take care. Have a great day, and we'll keep track of the trade deadline. Thank you, JP.
Sounds great. Thanks so much. You as well. Thank you.
See you later. JP Morosi from MLB Network and NHL Network joining us here on 101 ESPN. Big hockey guy, too.
Interesting name, Matt Vierling. Hadn't thought about him. And Matt Vierling, as he mentioned, local kid, CBC High School, I believe. Matt Vierling, when I was in Philly one time, and I went to go, he was with the Phillies, and I went to go introduce myself, and we had a great conversation for about 20 minutes. And he said, do you think there's a chance I could meet Albert? This is in 22, and I said, absolutely. And Albert at that time in his career was trying to be as gracious with his time, gracious with the media, and was starting to turn it on a little bit. And those two met outside, and Albert had a bat signed to him personally and big pictures taken. And he said that was one of the thrills of my major league career, was a chance to meet one of my boyhood idols, and that was Albert Pujols.
That's so cool.
Wow,
Yeah.
that is so cool.
I'd love to see him here. As JP said, he can play all over the diamond, too. That's something, versatility, that I would look at a right-handed bat as well. With all the moving parts that they have, you know, you can put Donovan at second base if you wanted to, put him in left field. If you need a right-handed bat in center, you could do that. He'd be an interesting addition to this team.
13 home runs this season,
Yeah.
733 OPS.
Bring Veerling and Flaherty home.
That's,
Package deal.
and Lane Thomas. I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
I'm bewildered.
Bewildered.
I think to your question, though,
trade.
Randy, it's right. Is that I just don't know what the appetite for many of these teams is to make a move with all the different teams that are in this. And that's what makes this fun. If you don't like the wild card, I get it. I do. And this is what makes it fun. All these teams have a chance. It makes it interesting down the stretch.
That's why it's hard for me to believe that it'll be boring. I don't know. We keep discussing that, and some people are downplaying it. I can't see it being boring with so many teams in the hunt.
Everybody loves rumors. They might say, I don't like rumors. Everybody loves rumors, and the trade deadline's awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of like going to the hot stove league. There's some people that rather watch and listen about the hot stove league than watch the games.
There's
Seriously.
no doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. What's the name of the dude that beat me in the fight yesterday?
Kevin.
Kevin will be joining us.
Why'd you yell it?
Because I was being like Home Alone.
Yes.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. I'm slow on the Home Alone uptake there.
Okay, there you go. I think it was a commercial, too. Wasn't like Kevin Hart was in a commercial with the mother from Home Alone? And she yelled, Kevin! I don't know what the commercial was.
They were.
Yeah.
I remember the commercial. I just don't
like during the winter, during Christmas time.
Yep.
So what does Kevin Hart do commercials for? Figure it out. I don't know. Anyway, Kevin joins us next for another edition of The Fight here on 101 ESPN.
This is Rocc with your Sports Center update. Brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. St. Louis Cardinals off yesterday. Back in action today. They start a 3-game series against the Washington Nationals. It'll be Sonny Gray on the bump for the Cardinals, facing off against the lefty for the Nationals, Mackenzie Gore. Gore on the season is 6-8 with a 4.20 ERA. That is your Sports Center update, brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
Welcome to the fight. In the red corner, Average Joe Listener. And in the blue corner, the undisputed king of morning drive. Please welcome Randy Carricker.
Welcome back to the opening drive. Brooke, Dan, Randy, and Rocchio here, and it is time for the fight. And we have a returning fighter today, Kevin. Kevin, welcome back.
Hey, Brooke, happy Friday.
Thank you. I'm sure you're having a really happy Friday after your victory yesterday.
I am, yes, definitely.
Did you go brag around town about it?
No, it's kind of like that no-hitter. You wait to get closer, then you talk about it.
Oh, there you go. Dan, you have any advice going into this big battle?
Well, it's day 2. You kind of felt like what it's going to feel like if you win in day 1. So you get it deep in the corner. You pay the price in front of the net, get to the greasy areas. And if you can do those things, then you'll have a great chance here in day 2.
Let's go.
All right, let's go. Let's do it. You're all business.
Here's question number 1, Kevin. The Cardinals are celebrating both the 2004 and 1964 teams tonight. Both teams faced off against current American League East clubs in the World Series, with the 64 club walking away with winners in Game 7. Who did they beat? Was it the St. Louis Browns, the New York Yankees, or the Boston Red Sox?
The Boston Red Sox.
Last night, Dylan Cease tossed the second ever no-hitter in Padres history. This comes just 3 years after the first ever no-hitter in Padres club history, thrown by whom? Was it Yu Darvish, Blake Snell, or Joe Musgrove?
Joe Musgrove.
All right. Which former Cardinals first-round pitcher was the centerpiece of the Mark DeRosa trade? Was it Chris Lambert, Adam Ottavino, or Chris Perez?
Can you say the question one more time, Brooke? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Which former Cardinals first-round pitcher was the centerpiece of the Mark DeRosa trade? Was it Chris Lambert, Adam Ottavino, or Chris Perez?
Go Chris Perez.
There are 5 players in NFL history to tally 2 seasons with 20 or more touchdowns from scrimmage. No one has ever notched a third. Which Ram is on that list? Is it Todd Gurley, Marshall Faulk, Eric Dickerson?
Go with Eric Dickerson.
Final answer?
Final answer, Rand.
Let me go grab Randall.
How are you feeling today, Kevin?
Not too bad. I think I missed that DeRosa question, but it's okay.
You never know. You never know what could happen. Here comes Randy walking in right now. The grapes are completely gone today. Kevin, there were some grapes left over yesterday, but today Randy made sure to finish them before the fight.
That's not good for me.
All right, Randy, say hi to Kevin again.
Kevin, welcome back. How you doing, sir? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you, Randy. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Thanks for listening. Thanks for playing.
Awesome.
Ready for question number 1?
Ready.
The Cardinals are celebrating both the 2004 and 1964 teams tonight. Both teams face off against current American League East clubs in the World Series, with the 64 club walking away winners in Game 7. Who did they beat?
The 64 Cardinals, who did they beat in the World Series? They beat the Junkies.
Final answer?
Yes, sir.
Are you ready for question 2?
Was it a Mickey Mantle home run into the upper deck that Mike Shannon leaped for?
Yes.
And somebody said, why did you jump for that? Was it McCarver that asked?
You never know, big boy.
You never know, big boy.
That was also the famous Bob Uecker tuba.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Which they won the World Series, and he was fined for. There wasn't much in the World Series checks for the players for winning, and a good portion of that check was taken out of Bob Uecker's because they needed to repair the tuba or buy a new one.
He was catching baseballs with a tuba, and it got all dented up.
Yep. Love it.
Pretty funny.
Last night, Dylan Cease tossed the second ever no-hitter in Padres history. This comes just 3 days after the first ever no-hitter in Padres club history. Thrown by whom?
3 years or 3 days?
Just 3 years after the first ever no-hitter in Padres club history.
That would be native San Diegan? You know what San Diego means?
No, Randy doesn't.
No. We're not going there.
San Diegan? I'm going to go with Joe Musgrove, native San Diegan?
Question mark?
Joe Musgrove, yeah.
Okay.
You decided on San Diegoite?
San Diegoite?
All right, here's 3, Randy. Which former Cardinals first-round pitcher was the centerpiece of the Mark DeRosa trade?
D-Row. Okay, I think no, it's not him. So we got D-Row from Cleveland. And the name escapes me. I was thinking, because we got, who was the right-hander we got? We've made a lot of trades with Cleveland over the years. Danny, who was the guy we got for Rob Kaminsky a few years ago?
Not telling you.
No, it's a different guy.
Rob Kaminsky, that great lefty that never panned out.
Yeah, and we got a right-hander that was mediocre. Big right-handed pitcher from Cleveland. I don't even remember. Okay, I'll do the lifeline, Brooke.
All right, Chris Lambert, Adam Ottavino, or Chris Perez?
Chris Perez. There you go. Chris Perez. Yeah, Perry.
He was pretty good with the Indians. He had some good years.
Good. And then he had, I think he had steroids sent to his dog.
Yeah, there's something that happened like that.
Yeah. So, I wish I could think of the pitcher we got. Somebody will text him with the name of the pitcher we got for Rob Kaminsky.
All right, you ready for question 4?
Ready.
There are 5 players in NFL history to tally 2 seasons with 20 or more touchdowns from scrimmage. No one has ever notched a third. Which Ram is on that list?
2 seasons of 20 or more touchdowns for a football player. Marshall Faulk would seem to be the logical choice here. I don't think Eric Dickerson did it with the Rams. None of the receivers did it. Dickerson could have, I guess, 83, 84. He had some pretty good years, but I don't think he did. I'm going to go with Marshall in 2000 and 2001.
Jake Westbrook? Rob Kaminsky? No. That's what we're getting texts in. I don't think that's right.
No, Westbrook was a different one.
It was a slugger who had a very good
Moss, right? Brandon
there
Moss.
It is. Brandon Moss.
Rob Kaminsky for Brandon Moss. I thought there was somebody else. It wasn't Westbrook. Westbrook was the Ryan Ludwig in 2010.
Okay. We have 4 questions in. 4 answers are in. 8 total. Wait a minute, you answered the last one, right?
Yeah, I said Marshall Faulk.
All right.
Let's just double check really quick. All right, then.
We weren't in the clear just yet.
Now that we know we have all the answers, we do, in fact, have a winner in today's fight. Kevin hit the jack yesterday, and if he wins today, he would be going for a Hall of Fame spot on Monday. Big weekend potentially for Kevin. Or does Randy Carricker stop him short here on a Friday? Ring that bell.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy! The winner and still champion of the fight, Randy Carricker.
The fight is presented by Golf Discount of St. Louis. With the most experienced club fitters in town. Why shop anywhere else?
I'm sorry, Kevin. Randy got you back. He hit the jack and he beat you 4-2 in today's fight.
Thanks, guys. Happy Friday. Have a good weekend.
You too.
Absolutely.
Kevin.
Thank you, Kevin. Let's go through the questions and the answers really quickly. The Cardinals are celebrating the 2004 and 1964 teams tonight. Both teams faced off against current AL East clubs in the World Series. Of course, the Cardinals lost to the Boston Red Sox in 2004, but they beat the Yankees in 1964 in Game 7. Last night, Dylan Cease tosses the second ever no-hitter in Padres history. The Padres were the last team to ever throw their first no-hitter, and that, of course, was 3 years ago when Joe Musgrove did it for the Padres. It was, in fact, Chris Perez who was the centerpiece of the Mark DeRosa trade. There eventually was a player to be named later after the fact, but the big move was Chris Perez. And there are 5 players in NFL history to tally 2 seasons with 20-plus touchdowns from scrimmage, but no one has ever touched a third. The Ram player who does it is, in fact, Marshall Faulk, who did it in back-to-back years of 21 and then 28. Todd Gurley actually came extremely close when because he actually had 21 in his 4th year in the league. In his 3rd year in the league, he finished with 19. So Todd Gurley actually extremely close to joining that list with Marshall Faulk. The rest of the list, by the way, Emmett Smith. I had the list in front of me, and I don't have it anymore. Where'd it go? There we go. Sorry. My apologies. Emmett Smith, Marshall Faulk, Priest Holmes, Sean Alexander, LaDainian Tomlinson is the list of players who have done it 2 times again. No one has done it a third. So a 4-2 win for Randy Carricker in the fight today. Thank you, Kevin, for joining the fight and joining the show today.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it. Kevin with us on 101 ESPN. As we roll on in this edition of the Fast Lane, is going for an individual record that
We're on
helps.
the morning show.
Huh?
You said the Fast Lane.
Oh,
How
wow.
about that?
Yeah.
I was thinking about the Fast Lane because we were doing a Fast Lane show when the Cardinals made that deal, and I can't think of this pitcher's name. It's driving me bananas.
Justin Masterson.
Justin Masterson, thank you.
There you go.
There we go.
Now
Did they
we're
trade
back on the
Kaminsky for
opening
him?
drive.
I think they did, and he was terrible.
Yeah, he was. He was not good.
Terrible. Yeah, he was not good. I think that's the guy. I could be wrong.
And then Rob Kaminsky came back during the COVID year.
He sure did.
Made his major league debut with the Cardinals. So, Rob Kaminsky, former first round.
He was traded to the Cardinals for minor league player James Ramsey.
Oh, yeah, James Ramsey out of Florida State.
Yeah.
He was a top prospect in terms of coming out of college, one of the top picks, but he was a left-handed bat that played the outfield and wasn't very good.
People were angry about that trade.
Yes, they were.
Ranji was angry about that trade.
Really?
Yeah, he was. Yeah. But this is weird. Ramsey was traded for Moss, right?
Kaminsky.
Kaminsky was traded for
Kaminsky was for Brandon Moss.
No, Kaminsky.
James Ramsey was for Justin Masterson.
That's not what my baseball reference says.
Oh boy, here we go.
What?
Isn't that interesting? July 30th, 2015, Rob Kaminsky traded by the St. Louis Cardinals to the Cleveland Indians for Brandon Moss.
Yeah, that's what I said.
So who's Justin Masterson? Who did we get?
I said James Ramsey was who we traded to the Indians for Justin Masterson.
Oh, got it. Okay, got it. I got it figured out now.
Yeah, it's a puzzle.
Together. We've had so many deals with Cleveland that you just never know.
I liked some people. We were talking about the best or the trades that you like to take back. Mm-hmm. What about Coco Crisp and Chuck Finley?
Yeah.
But you needed Finley down the stretch. If you would have won a World Series, you say, do it in a heartbeat. Yeah. And they went to the National League Championship Series that year, and then Coco Crisp turned out to be a really good player.
It might have been Walt and Tony's best job. It
was their best job.
Roland, Finley, they got another lefty from the Yankees. Was that 0-2 too?
I don't remember. I didn't think that it was 0-2. I could be wrong about that.
0-4.
They were starting Travis Smith in games. You remember that name?
Unbelievable, yeah.
That was tough to watch. And it was a terrible year, obviously, for everything that took place. It was awful. It was horrendous with the passing of Darryl Kyle, and you had the passing of Jack Buck in the same year. And somehow he was able to keep that team together and get into postseason play. I thought it was the best job he ever did.
Won 97 games.
Yeah. Pretty good team.
Yep, it was. All right, coming up, is individual glory greater than team glory? That's next on 101 ESPN. last year, Tyreek Hill of the Miami Dolphins tried to get 2,000 yards. He said that was his goal for the season. This year, he was asked during training camp if he was going to go for 2,000 yards again, and he said, quote, "That'd be great. Grand scenario, that'd be great. But I feel like at the same time, I have to understand that the position that I'm in and me being one of the leaders and just singling out an individual goal like that, because I had time to go look at it and talk about it with my family, and that's very selfish of me," unquote. Do you think that in football, a receiver trying to get 2,000 yards, and presumably the more yards you get, the more touchdowns you're going to get, you think that's selfish?
Well, the way to look at it is if he is racking up that many yards, then it really benefits the team. So then it's not completely selfish. I do like the message of what he's saying, though, is that he's not fixated on just individual accomplishments. It's about what's best for the team. But you would say, okay, if you're racking up that many yards, it's going to help the team a lot.
Don't most players have personal goals, you think, before a season?
You would think they do. Now, maybe with him, maybe the thing is he's looking at Jalen Waddle on the other side saying, you know what, there's times where they're going to double cover me or they're going to bracket me, and it'd be smarter for Tua to throw the ball to Jalen Waddle rather than throw into double coverage to me.
Tua better get signed, by the way.
Yeah.
He is a hold-in.
Yeah.
Is that what you'd call it?
Yeah, that's what they are.
Calling it a
that's the new trick. Yep.
Yeah.
So he's holding out for a new deal, but yet he's still at practice and engaging with his teammates, but not participating in the drills.
Field. Yeah.
Would you, if you were the Dolphins, and he had a great year last year, spent 3/4 of the year in the MVP conversation, would you put him in the Burrow and Trevor Lawrence $55 million a year class?
With the numbers that he put up last year, I would. Let me say this: physically, I'd say no.
Mm-hmm.
Production-wise, I'd say yes.
I think you have to. Unfortunately, that's where you are. Regardless of how good the quarterback is, the next quarterback up in free agency or potential free agency is the guy that gets the biggest contract ever.
He threw for the most yards.
Yeah,
I mean,
he was good.
There's got to be something to that. And if you're to his camp and you're watching how guys are signed and the money that they're getting, I would do that in a heartbeat. I'd say, you know what, maybe he's not the most physically gifted with arm strength, but yet does he have to be in the offense that we run and the fact that they're putting up big-time numbers offensively?
Mm-hmm.
At first, I thought you were going to talk about, with Hill, the experimental treatment that he just got done. Did you see that report coming out yesterday, too? He actually went to the Caribbean to get a stem cell treatment done, which should help with his blood flow and durability.
Ooh, hope it makes him faster. I think they sell blood flow stuff on TV all the time during sporting events.
I think it's great if guys have personal goals and they hit them. To Brooks' point, you're probably getting then to the team goal of winning. If you're putting up big numbers, you're probably winning.
Yep, at the end of the day. Meanwhile, another NFL superstar, Jerry Jones, has compared himself. He's off to a slow start this year, but there's a guy who says, you know what, I just do great TV. I don't blow anybody out. I win it at the end. And so Jerry has determined that he's got a comp in the NFL.
I have, in my life, played option quarterback so many times and wait until the last leaf on the tree. And if you want to picture an pure option quarterback going out to the sideline, I have run that ball and kept it and not hand it off to the back, not pitch it back, not throw it. And I have run that thing all the way out to the sideline before I made the decision. Because I couldn't get whatever it took it wasn't right for me to make the decision. And so what our fans, what you're seeing, what we deal with is we're buying time. We're option quarterback, and then we're going on out toward the sideline, and we haven't handed it off. We haven't pitched it. We're trying to make our mind up what to do. Does that sound like Mahomes to you? A little bit? Okay. It do. It really do. So having said that, I'm just trying to give you a description here. That's what we're doing. And we're waiting for something to happen in the morning.
I'm so confused.
You do.
Yeah.
You really do.
I do be confused right now. I am very confused about what just happened there. And I like how he opened it up kind of as a question. The reporters, and you just hear like
so
please don't fire me.
Okay, what would be the follow-up question there? I would say my follow-up would be, so you're comparing yourself to Patrick Mahomes?
Yeah.
My follow-up would be, Huh? Yeah, that's exactly what he was trying to do, because Patrick Mahomes will sometimes get off to a slow start, figure out what he wants to do, figure out what the defense is doing, and then he comes away with a victory at the end. So Jerry Jones is claiming that he is the Patrick Mahomes of owners and that he knows what he's doing and it's going to happen. The only difference being that his team hasn't been in a conference championship game since 1995.
Yeah, it's never typically a good idea to do comparisons. Do we ever find comparisons that actually work out when somebody compares themselves to someone else, and that usually does not blow over?
Does not work well.
Pretty well, but especially
really.
To Patrick Mahomes. Maybe he's more like Mac Jones. I don't know in this situation.
Yeah.
But that was a lot of rambling happening on there.
Yeah. Patrick Mahomes, I believe, has... In the time that he's been in the league, he has 3 Super Bowl rings, right, in 7 years. And in that time, I think Jerry might have 1 playoff win.
How many does he have since Jimmy Johnson left? No,
None.
since Switzer left.
Well, none.
Yeah.
0. So he does have 3. Give him credit for that, but kind of a while ago.
When somebody throws out a complicated analogy, the only thing to do is simply walk them deeper into it. And so the way to do it with Jerry is be like, well, Jerry, at some point, you're either going to step out of bounds or have to get upfield and actually make a play. So at what point are you guys going to make that decision? Like, you got to take the analogy and just keep driving it deeper until he completely loses himself inside of it.
And he can lose himself inside it. It's amazing.
What if you say, what happened, Jerry, when you got the first down? What was next?
Yeah.
What happened then?
Yeah.
Jerry, at some point, if you just held the ball and don't actually make a decision, you would lose yardage. So are you just take it, just keep on going with it. But I honestly think that's some of the best audio I've ever heard from Jerry Jones. If that was an actual coach being that folksy with it, it would be one of my favorite pieces of audio ever. But because it's Jerry and he's Satan, and I want to make fun of it.
Oh,
but
man.
It's funny.
He also mentioned that they're all in, which I know that you guys are shocked to hear.
All in.
All the way in. Now, what happens with Dak Prescott? What happens with CeeDee Lamb? I'm very curious to see what happens in those situations.
He said we'd find out in the morning.
There you go.
I'm waiting.
Yeah. So I'm waiting too.
It takes 2 to tango. I wonder what the appetite for Dak Prescott is to remain as the quarterback of the Cowboys. He has a fit in some other places if you look at it, if he plays the year out.
Right.
You know what I mean? So he could get top dollar if he leaves.
But they still haven't franchised him. So they if they wanted to, now it'd be outrageously expensive, but if they want to franchise him a couple of times like Washington did with Cousins, they could.
I don't think I would do that.
I don't think so either.
You got Trey Lance ready to go, Randy. That's it.
I sent you guys this tweet because I don't think Jerry Jones has ever given away the game like he did in his news conference yesterday. This was a quote from they did a follow-up question about CeeDee Lamb's contract. This was Jerry Jones. I'm just going to say this to y'all. Give me some credit, okay? You don't think I'm good with numbers? You think I don't know how to add and subtract? Do I know how to talk and sell? I realize all the criticism and I understand it. As a matter of fact, I try to stir it up, and I have since I got here. That's good. Be relevant. It works. I don't think I've ever had him describe the gameplay of what he does throughout a season in the offseason as outwardly as he just did in that press conference last night.
Yeah, he is right. I mean, we're talking about it. He is relevant, and no matter what comes out of his mouth, you do listen. I do. I find it interesting.
Yeah. I mean, always. Anything Jerry Jones, everybody's going to be talking
Can
about
we just hear it one more time? It was so much fun.
Which part? I especially like the end.
I like the use of the English language. Let's do it.
I do.
You do.
Played option quarterback so many times and wait until the last leaf on the tree. And if you want to picture an pure option quarterback going out to the sideline, I have run that ball and kept it and not hand it off to the back, not pitch it back, not throw it. And I have run that thing all the way out to the sideline before I made the decision. Because I couldn't get whatever it took it wasn't right for me to make the decision. And so what our fans, what you're seeing, what we deal with is we're buying time. We're option quarterback, and then we're going on out towards the sideline, and we haven't handed it off. We haven't pitched it. We're trying to make our mind up what to do. Does that sound like Mahomes to you? A little bit? Okay. It do.
They do. But it doesn't sound like Patrick Mahomes, by the way. He's not exactly an option quarterback.
Yeah, there's a lot happening there. He also addressed his ongoing paternity suit, which I don't know if you have been following that.
Oh, of
That's
course.
happening. I know you like to stay on top of that, Randy. He addressed that as well. So he said it was very sensitive with my family, and it was very sensitive with the unique publicity that is involved with the Cowboys. But it was resolved for all those who are concerned.
Okay.
It do be resolved.
I can't get over the image of like 60 years ago, him playing at Arkansas and a coach screaming the phrase, "You got to be the last leaf on the tree" in the option play. And Jerry Jones remembering that coaching note for 60 years, just break it out in a random press conference in 2024. That's my favorite. That's why I love that clip despite hating him so much.
Coming up, we've got the Rush Hour Reset on 101 ESPN.
Hey everyone, it's Brooke here, and I want to tell you why I love the Missouri Athletic Club. It's because it's so much fun going over the West location, and I feel like I've really just joined a community. I love going over there and having lunch, getting the buffalo chicken wrap. It's delicious, and then also afterwards, I have to work off the chicken wrap, and I play some tennis with Scott over there at the West location, and it's pool time right now, so they have the best pool in town over there, and it's so much fun. They always provide such a wonderful experience, and that's why I love my MAC.
Pirates and Nationals tonight at the ballpark, 7:15 game. Before the game, the 1964 World Champions and the 2004 National League champions will be honored. So you want to get down to the ballpark if you enjoyed those seasons and applaud those players. And in addition to that, you've got Sonny Gray going for the Redbirds against Mackenzie Gore of Washington. Washington was no-hit by Dylan Cease yesterday. So if you're Sonny Gray, you just want to keep them down. Keep them down and come away with a victory tonight.
Another no-hitter today.
Yes, that'd be good.
That'd be great. Fantastic. Going back to Dylan Cease, good on Mike Schilt for keeping him in that situation. I know that Bob Nightingale reported, and you could see during the game where there was the consideration of pulling Dylan Cease after 94 pitches. But, of course, Mike Schilt kept him in there. Dylan Cease wanted to stay in there. He was the one that was very adamant about staying in the game. 114 pitches, very efficient. First career no-hitter for Dylan Cease. I feel like it won't be his last, and the second in Padres history.
Texting with Mike Schilt, the manager of the Padres, and he said it would have really been a no-brainer for him in terms of keeping him in, but there was a delay in the first, but stayed with him, and you know, your pitchers have a chance to make history. I think you keep them in the game, especially with the pitch count where it was. So good on the Padres, good on Mike Schilt, and good thing for baseball.
If you were at a game, would you rather see a no-hitter or somebody hit for the cycle?
No-hitter. More drama for me.
I agree.
Yeah, the no-hitter would be pretty hard to beat.
Yeah. The drama, Cease, ironically, it was Luis Arraez who broke up his last no-hitter try after 8 2/3.
And he's in the dugout.
Yeah, and he was watching. He wasn't playing yesterday. He was watching. Probably feeling bad, too, saying, man, I hope he gets this because I messed up his last one.
The interesting part of the series this weekend with the Nationals, Cardinals are going to face two lefties. Mm-hmm. So it starts tonight with Mackenzie Gore, who has reverse splits. Left-handers are hitting .308 against him, an .844 OPS. He's given up 7 home runs, and that's come from the right side. So 5 of the 7 have been hit by right-handed batters. You got Jake Irvin, Kyle Gibson in Game 2, and another lefty in DJ Hertz against Michaelis in Game 3. So 2 of the 3 are against lefties, and we know the Cardinals have struggled against those lefties mightily here in 2024.
Pick to click tonight, Alec Burleson. Alec Burleson, lefty on lefty. He'll be in the lineup.
I'll go Brendan Donovan. He'll get things going. Yeah, I'll go Brendan Donovan.
I'll just go with Nolan Arenado.
Oh, you're going with the righty. Okay, I like this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, thank you.
So I always have it when you guys start listing off lineups. I just like a sounder. My bad.
Got it. Okay. Also today, in addition to Cardinal baseball this weekend, I was going to mention one other thing about the Cardinals, I thought. Tickets available for the weekend, by the way, and it should be, especially tonight, the 2014 best team you'll ever see, probably with the Cardinals. So honor them. It's fun to honor them.
Do we know how many of the 04 guys are going to be back?
More than 30 members of the overall group, and that includes coaches, Tony, I would guess the trainers and equipment guys.
CJ Cherry.
Yep. So that'll be fun. It'll be good to see. I hope Chris Carpenter is there. I guess, at least according to the release, Albert and Yachty are not scheduled to be there. But Roland is going to be there. I believe Renteria is going to be there. I know Tony Womack is in town. Reggie Sanders.
Yep.
I hope Larry Walker is here. I think a lot of these guys played in the Ted Savage Golf Tournament yesterday.
I think what makes it cool, if you're a Cardinal fan, is that they've had so much winning over the years to be able to have these teams come back every 10. If you want to do it every 5, there is a celebration. It seems like just about every year, if you want to find it, because the Cardinals have done so much winning.
I think in my lifetime, and we've seen a lot of postseason baseball, and I didn't see the Willie Mays catch, obviously. I wasn't old enough. I think the best catch that I've seen under the circumstances with the bright lights is Edmonds' diving catch of Osmus in Game 7 with Clemens on the mound for them. And the Cardinals desperately needed a play. And if that ball gets down, I think it's 2-0 Houston at the time, right?
Yeah.
And Edmonds makes an amazing... the best under the circumstances bright lights catch I think I've ever seen.
How about Willie in Milwaukee? Or do you think this one was bigger in 80 because it was Game 7?
Yeah, but Willie took home runs away. But I think because it was Game 7, that was Game 3 for Willie. I think this was the one.
This was, Jimmy and I have talked about this catch, and this should tell you how smart and a baseball savant that he is that he would look in and see the signs of pitchers, what they were going to throw. He knew that Ausmus may have been sitting on the particular pitch, which then would lead him to pull the ball into left center, right-handed batter. Jimmy actually started running and leaning that way before the pitch was thrown.
Wow.
And that's how he made the catch. If he's just standing still and waiting for the ball to be hit, he does not make that catch, and maybe we're not talking about the 0-4 team tonight.
Right.
It's amazing.
It's incredible. So that'll be fun tonight. Also, the games of the 33rd Olympiad beginning, and the opening ceremonies today in Paris. They're going to be on a river. They're not in a stadium where they're circling. They're going to be on a river. People are not going to be, I know they're great athletes, but they don't walk on water. But they are going to be on boats, apparently.
They don't walk on water. I didn't know if that was a new event that was added.
That would be there's only one guy, apparently, that can win that one.
Oh, yes. Win gold in it every single year.
Yeah. Pretty good. Oh,
Rocco didn't like that show?
No, I think
was
he did.
Laughing?
He's laughing.
I couldn't see.
I feel like there's a couple Latin countries that could put together a pretty good team for that sport.
I think so.
Okay.
And we should tell you that we're here for the 10 o'clock hour. We're going to have a balloon party. I forgot to buy balloons. I apologize. But it is going to be a party because Jimmy the Cat Hayes is going to join us in studio.
I like that. I think we can have a little fun with Jimmy.
I think we will.
Yep. Looking forward to it.
So that'll be fun. Can't wait. Can't wait. But there's your rush hour reset. Next up, we're going to talk some Blues hockey with our buddy Jeremy Rutherford. Our Blues insider from The Athletic is next on 101 ESPN.
Dear Summer Vacay, load up on fun in a new Toyota. 4Runner's an off-road icon. Tundra hauls it all with its tenacious twin-turbo engine. And Tacoma takes adventure straight to the top. Want to ride with sizzling hot style and efficiency? The all-new all-hybrid Camry is revving and ready. Soak up summer fun in a new Toyota today. Visit Toyota.com or your local Toyota dealer. Toyota, let's go places.
Now there's a way to afford everything on your back-to-school list and move your family to a better financial situation. With the Credit Builder loan from GoCredit.me, you get the cash you need while you build credit and grow savings. Apply for a loan up to $4,000 at GoCredit.me or call 888-599-5077. GoCredit.me. Restrictions may apply.
When cash is a necessity, GoCredit.me.
This is the opening drive on 101 ES.
Grimsley, Danny Mac, Randy Carricker, opening drive, 101 ESPN, and our buddy, the one, the only Blues insider from the Athletics, Jeremy Rutherford, joins us now. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning. Good morning. Hey, I know this is a story that Danny and I have told before, but with the Olympics starting up, I couldn't help but think about this. Danny, Jim Otis in the elevator. You and I are the only two media members in St. Louis covering the St. Louis Stampede arena football. And he says, hey, can you get the Post-Dispatch and KMOX to do a better job covering the Stampede? And I said, Jim, the Olympics are going on right now. And Jim Otis said, F the Olympics.
And we were the only ones that were truly covering the team at that. So I was thinking that maybe it might be, hey, thanks for being out here. Thanks for coming out.
Yeah.
Thanks for supporting us. We didn't quite get that, but that's okay. I love Jim Otis. So, it's okay.
Was Trey Wingo the voice of the Stampede?
If there was a third member of the media, I didn't see him.
It was just JR and I up in the box.
Oh, man. So fun.
He may have been doing it, though, Randy, now that I reflect on it. I think you're right.
So I don't remember who his analyst was.
I don't either.
But, Trey Wingo doing a little play-by-play. So, JR, we heard you got a piece coming out about the Joseph brothers, Lawrence Olivier Joseph and his brother Johnny.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Just a few additions to the roster this summer, and obviously we'll wait to see how those pan out when they drop the puck in October. But had a chance to sit down on a Zoom call with the two of them. I like in these settings, where people can play off each other, and especially in this case with two brothers, where you can get them in the same room. And so, ask them several things growing up, what it's like to play for the same NHL team now, how that all came about. And that's going to be at the Athletic next week. And I know there's a lot of Blues fans out there who want to find out what numbers they're going to be, because they're holding out to find out what numbers P.O. and Matthew are going to be so they can go out and get their jerseys. We'll have that breaking news in the story. Actually, 71 and 77 for anybody listening. You won't have to read the story next week.
Oh, no, you're already revealing, huh?
Yeah, 7, a big number in the Joseph family. Their dad wore it growing up. So Matthew's going to go with 71 and P.O. 77. So go out and get your jerseys now.
I like that. All right, well, Scott Perunovich is another story that you have out currently right now in The Athletic. What is one of your big takeaways that you had from the story?
Just how honest he is. And, I think it said it in the headline, Candid Scott Perunovich. And, I realize that when you're disappointed in how things have gone, it's a little bit easier for you to be honest. But I felt like he really opened up. Like, we've heard about the injuries. We know all about the injuries. We get that part. But I said, Scott, when you've been on the ice, how do you think you played last year? You played 53, 54 games. And he said, not good enough. And I'm tired of telling people I've got more to give and I don't give it. And then so we explored even further, and I felt like he got pretty in-depth with he knows he's a better player. He felt like in college when he played at Duluth, they won 2 national championships. He was the Hobie Baker winner and as college's best player. And he said that he was just always in the zone. He said he always wanted the puck on his stick in college. And he said there have been times, this goes back to the honesty, where in the NHL, he hasn't wanted the puck on his stick. He just hasn't felt confident enough, and he wants to get to that point. So obviously the Blues fans, Scott Perunovich, his family, friends, everybody hoping for that to happen. But, Brooke, I felt like his honesty really shined through there.
Can we get him to shoot the puck more, JR? Did you tell him, hey, shoot the puck?
Yeah, definitely, Dan. And you know what? When you ask players questions like that, you don't know what they're going to say, and you don't know how tired they are of getting the question. So, you don't walk on eggshells, but you say, hey, Scott, listen, I got the numbers in front of me. You really haven't shot the puck that much. Is that something that you want to focus on? And he went on for 5 minutes. He said, Jeremy, I was playing with some guys here at Duluth today, just this morning. I came off the ice. These are guys, obviously not Blues teammates, but just guys he plays with there. And they said the exact same thing. He even said that his agent told him that he's going to pass his way out of the league if he doesn't start shooting the puck some more. So he knows it, but he's got to get some confidence. He said, and we've heard this from guys like Robert Thomas in the past, they'd rather make a highlight reel pass than a highlight reel goal. And Scott Perunovich said that, but he said he's got to change that mentality, and it's got to be a shoot-first mentality.
Can he be what Torrey Krug was supposed to be?
I think that he can, but I think that as time goes on here the past couple of years, I think if you're in that camp and you believe that, you've got to see more. And so, Torrey Krug in his heyday, I know you're talking about supposed to be, but, in his heyday in Boston with those skilled players on that power play, like he was a really, really good player. And, I felt a couple years ago that Scott Perunovich can get there, but because of the injuries and because of the inconsistency, maybe some of the holes defensively, I think he's struggled to get there. But, when we've seen him on, that the talent is there, whether it be in college or the American Hockey League. Drew Bannister said he was the best player in the AHL when he had him for a stretch of 20 or so games that year in the American Hockey League. So the biggest thing for him is he's got to do it at this higher level.
Who's staying around town right now and getting ready, and just some of the names for Blues fans and even those that aren't Blues players, who's staying around town and working out?
Yeah, I think the guys that I've talked to for the most part have gone back home for a little while. I talked to Jake Neighbors last week. He was back home. Scott Perunovich was in Duluth. I think they told me Braden Shen went back home. I talked to Justin Falk the other day for a piece that I got coming up soon, and he was back home. And so in terms of guys here, Robert Thomas, another guy, went back home. So, we've talked about Sundqvist as a guy that stays here, but for the most part, I think they all go home and get a little bit of time. But hey, listen, speaking of that, Danny, I have a piece coming out next week where I talk about Drew Bannister kind of making the rounds. He went and visited with some players, when it was convenient in terms of he was in Minnesota because of his daughter's hockey tournament. Justin Falk was there. They went out and had some beers. And I think the point of the story is going to be that Drew Bannister came in last year and he didn't really know these guys. And so when he sat down with Justin Falk for a few beers, this is probably going back a month or two ago now, he got to know about Justin Falk. He said, hey, I didn't know he was a hunter and fisherman outdoorsman. And now we have something. We're walking down the hallways and, December, January, dog days of the season, January, February, I got something else I can talk to him about with hockey. So I think that's all going to be good for Drew Bannister and these players. So it's real good that Drew's reaching out and trying to meet these guys when possible.
JR, what are you most excited about seeing during the Summer Olympics?
Well, I think just we got to see Snoop Dogg, right, today, who didn't grow up with Snoop Dogg. And of course, everybody thought that one day he would carry the Olympic flag, right? So I think that's something. As far as the sports go, I know last night my family and I watching a little bit of women's soccer, so that's something off the top of my head that sticks out. But I guess we'll have to turn on the TV the next couple nights. I'm one of those people, guys, I don't know about you guys, I get confused as to which sports are even in the Olympics until I turn on the TV and say, oh, yeah, okay, this is going to be on TV for the next couple of weeks. So I think it's one of those deals where turn it on, see what you like, flip around, and then find the storyline.
Do the players in the NHL, do they enjoy the Olympics? Is that something they like, the break and all that kind of stuff? And then where does that stand moving forward?
Yeah, 100%. So the NHL has not been in the Olympics the past couple of times, and they are going to be back in 2026. So we will see NHL players at the Olympic level. They love it in terms of the players that I talk to, and we're talking about, just over the years, a few Blues players. But I think they like the best on best competition. And then as far as the guys who aren't at the Olympics, Dan, you find me a guy who doesn't like to go on the beach for a couple of weeks while the NHL takes a break in January. And I'll tell you something there. But no, I think they love it, and I think they love that they're getting back to it in 2026.
JR, always great to hear your voice. Thanks so much for the time. We appreciate it, and we will talk to you soon.
Yep, see you guys.
See you, brother. That is Jeremy Rutherford, our Blues insider from The Athletic on 101 ESPN. Next up, with the Summer Olympics underway, we've seen a lot of Olympics over the years. What's your all-time favorite Summer Olympics moment? We'll give you ours next on 101 ESPN.
This is Rocc with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Cardinals back in action after a day off yesterday. They face off against the Washington Nationals as they start a 3-game series. First pitch is set for 7:15 tonight and earlier today. If you missed it, the trade deadline has officially begun. One of the first moves is Seattle Mariners making a move for former Cardinal Randy Arozarena in a trade from the Tampa Bay Rays. The Mariners trading 2 lower-level minor leaguers, outfielder Aiden Smith, and a righty, Brady Hopkins, to the Rays for a Rosarania. That is your SportsCenter update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
It is the opening drive on 101 ESPN. Brooke, Dan, and Randy. The Olympics getting underway. The opening ceremonies today in Paris. And you look back, and I have often said when Olympics start, I don't have any interest. And then I get completely immersed and wind up being just a total Olympics honk. I love it. I always find somebody to be compelled by. Michael Phelps is obviously, over the history of the games, one of those guys right at the top of the list. My favorite, though, and Brooke, you missed out, although I know you've seen a ton of it, is the Dream Team, the original Dream Team in 1992. If you're asking about moments, it's when their very first game, they show up against Angola and they just take it to them, and they were up by like 31 at halftime, and you knew how great they were. That was my favorite Olympic moment, was just seeing them dominate the way we expected them to do.
They dominated in every single aspect. What was it, 38 points versus Puerto Rico, how much they were ahead, they beat them by. Michael Phelps, he is what I put together with Team USA, and I'm thinking about the Olympics. That's the first person I think about. But then which version of Michael Phelps do you like? Do you like the 2008 in Beijing Michael Phelps when he won gold there, of course, or 2016 in Rio, where that really just kind of cemented his legendary status?
I liked all of it.
Yeah, he won 8 in Beijing, I believe, and then he broke the all-time record in Rio when he got to, well, he has 23 total. And I think 14, I think, was the record when he set it.
I've got a bunch.
Uh-huh.
Go ahead, Rocc.
Just that, I mean, the one where he was going for Spitz's record. I mean, he turned, I mean, that's
2008.
That is the most, other than maybe the Winter Olympics in the late 90s, when for some reason figure skating was a huge thing in this country, which is still really weird that was like such a big deal in the late 90s. But like, I can't remember people like clamoring to get around a television to watch an Olympic event like they did for, I'm pretty sure, I think probably the medley relay, that the Germans like almost out-touched the Americans, and like I think that was the 5th one, and we kind of knew it was a fait accompli that he was going to get 6. I've never seen an Olympic event in my lifetime, 91, like that one before. It's got to be number 1 in my lifetime.
I had a bunch. Can I go through the various sports here? So Dream Team of 92 was number 1 for me. I know this is one that people are going to go, really? Ben Johnson? Mm-hmm. When he did what he did, and having seen how it happened, you know, with the steroid use and whatnot, but at that time I was like, holy smokes, that was incredible. And seeing Usain Bolt set the all-time record in the 16 Olympics, I believe. I went with Mary Lou Retton, Carrie Strug.
Mm-hmm. That was great.
Those are pretty good.
Carrie Strug getting picked up by Bella Crowley.
Yep. That was that. And then Greg Louganis in 1988 hit his head on the backboard of the, making the jump and trying to do a backflip. And then I had Rulon Gardner in 2000, a wrestler that was very interesting to watch. So those were just some of the ones that I threw out there.
I'm old enough to remember the Spinks brothers in 1976.
That's another
one. You got 2 St. Louisans winning gold in boxing. And then the other one I thought of, Dan, as you brought those up, in 1984 in L.A., you've got Florence Griffith Joyner.
That's another one I had.
You've got FloJo with the red, white, and blue striped long fingernails and the great hair. And she's married to Al Joyner, who's Jackie Joyner Kersey's brother. So you've got these 3 people with great ties to St. Louis, and Al, Jackie, and FloJo, who are all doing dominant things at the Olympics. And FloJo, the late, great Florence Griffith Joyner, she was kind of, even as great as Mary Lou Retton was, FloJo was kind of the flair of those Olympics in 1984 in L.A.
How about Sugar Ray Leonard?
Yeah, that's another great one. That 1976 Olympic boxing team was unbelievable.
It was.
One of the most emotional moments, 1996, when you had Muhammad Ali, when he came out, when he was dealing with Parkinson's. I think that was another moment that nobody will ever forget with the opening ceremonies in Atlanta.
Michael Johnson, gold spikes in 96, winning double gold. That's one that comes out too. Kyle Snyder in 2016 was the youngest wrestler to win a gold. That's one of the folks that chimed in on the text line. There's a bunch. I'm with you, Randy. I'm kind of with you where like this morning, I'm like, okay, the Olympics starts, and then when I get home and I flip on the TV, I'm enthralled by some of the various sports I get to watch.
It draws you in, doesn't it?
It really does.
Especially the ones that you weren't even expecting to draw you in. Is there an event that you might just tune into that, I know we're talking about basketball. Of course, everybody's going to be watching Team USA basketball, gymnastics, another big one with Simone Biles. But is there something else that might draw you in?
The mile. I think the mile is interesting. That's hard. Any of the track and field sports for me, well, just seeing the speed of the athletes and the stamina that they need, that's the ones that usually I gravitate towards that I would probably never watch. Probably never watch those. I can't wait to watch the golf. I know I'm a golf nerd, but I can't wait to watch that.
Golf is going to be fun. And, Brooke, you've turned me on to the kayaking. I'm very excited about watching that.
Kayaking, yeah, that's a new one.
Full
Kayak
contact,
cross.
as you called it, full contact kayak.
There is. So I really would encourage everybody to go watch video clips of kayak cross because, as I mentioned, this is one of the newer events. They're the new kids on the block for Olympic events this year. And it's not your typical kayaking or canoeing event. So they drop the men off a ramp, and instead of competing against the clock, which is one of the other events, how they're like, instead they're competing against each other. So it's 4 people going at a time, and it is full contact since they are competing against each other, and they do a full 360 where their head has to go into water at a certain part too.
Now, can you take the paddle and knock somebody, or is it just full contact with the boats?
I showed Randy yesterday. Yeah, they're whacking each other with the paddles.
It's amazing. Yeah.
Who comes up with this sport?
I don't know, but I love it.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. By the way, that 1976 USA Olympic boxing team won 5 golds, a silver, and a bronze. Teofilio Stevenson won the heavyweight gold. Leon Spinks won the light heavyweight. Michael Spinks won the middleweight gold. You had Sugar Ray Leonard winning the light welterweight gold. Howard Davis won the lightweight gold. And then Leo Randolph won the flyweight gold. So just one of the great teams ever in the Olympics. Charles Mooney, by the way, of the U.S., won the bantamweight silver back in 1976. And then most of those players, obviously Leonard, Spinks, and, both Spinks brothers and Howard Davis all became professional champions, too.
How is baseball not a sport in the Olympics? I find that terrible.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you think that if you are the IOC, and maybe it's, although the Major League Baseball's World Baseball Classic should have changed this, but wouldn't you tell an organizing committee that you have to build a baseball stadium?
Absolutely. And make sure that you get the games in. I don't think you could have professionals playing in this. You're going to have Major League Baseball take a 2-week break. I don't think that could happen.
No.
But your college kids that are still in college, haven't been drafted, or maybe even those that have been drafted, let them go. As long as it's not a Major League player that disrupts the season. But to me, I think they need to have baseball. And it is coming back. I just wish it was in this Olympics.
In this Olympics, yeah. And you've had a lot of players who have said that they want it to happen, too.
How about rhythmic gymnastics?
Well, did you see the photo they sent, Dan?
I love it.
How about synchronized swimming?
Yeah, that's really interesting. That takes a lot of athletic ability.
What was the Saturday Night Live with synchronized swimming with Martin Short?
Yep.
And I can't remember the other gentleman's name, but that...
Yeah, it's great.
That one would crack me up.
I know you.
I know you. I know you.
It's great.
And I don't want to take away anything from these athletes, but this is always a discussion. Is there a sport that you think that you could possibly, if you trained, compete in?
Sure.
Remember, there's a lot of miscellaneous ones out there.
Now, compete? No. Could I finish a dash? Yeah, I could finish a dash. I'd probably a 100-yard dash at 20 seconds.
I could, something that you, like, I don't know if I could go fast enough. Maybe some of the endurance bicycling. I could compete. I could finish in last place.
You could finish?
Yeah. I could finish it, yeah.
Well, nobody said breakdancing, so I'm very disappointed in that.
Is breakdancing in
That's
this?
one of the new events this year, breakdancing.
Oh, my God.
Or breaking. Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. Rocchio corrected me. He's correct.
Every Olympics has something that's, unique to each host country's culture in a lot of ways, and so that's what we get baseball, they get breaking. Unfortunately, I think they win.
1984 USA Olympic baseball team. Mike Dunn was a Cardinal first-rounder, was involved in the Tony Pena trade. Will Clark was on the infield. Chris Gwynn was on that team. Gary Green, longtime Major League infielder, was on that team. Barry Larkin was the shortstop for that team. Shane Mack, longtime Major League outfielder, was on that team. John Marzano was the catcher. Oddibe McDowell, one of the great names.
Yeah.
Oddibe Young again McDowell was in the outfield. You had Corey Snyder. You had B.J. Surhoff. You had Bill Swift. You had Bobby Witt. And, of course, you had Mark McGuire. It was one of the all-time great Olympic baseball teams.
Was Randy Johnson on that team?
The big unit was not on that team. I was looking for that. I thought he was. And I don't, for some reason, I don't remember why he wasn't on it.
There's no way that Major League Baseball would actually allow major leaguers. Are they going to? Are we taking a 2-week break from Major League Baseball in 2026?
My idea is to.
Are we taking a 2-week break?
Yeah, my idea is to cancel the All-Star game for that year, and then just have another week where you take off.
How far though would you push back the World Series?
Is going to be played in snow.
Well, or you could start the season, or you could go double headers. You could go 7-inning doubleheaders, division games.
I like that.
For your division, home and home. So you've got 8 doubleheaders, 4 home, 4 on the road against your division.
How about a neutral site World Series in a dome? So take it to Texas.
It's what Whitey always wanted to do.
Yeah.
Take it to New Orleans.
That's another one. This is 314. Could Dan finish 100 before the worst Olympian finishes at 200? And the answer is no. Not a chance. Not a chance.
What about 5?
No, I'm not beating anybody.
I think 500 you could probably get across.
I don't
100.
think so, Rocc.
Yeah, that's true.
I'd get injured and have to fall down. Achilles blowout,
At the
bad back.
75th meter mark, Dan is down.
Oh, no. Nobody wants to see that.
No.
We don't want to see an injury happen.
It would be nasty. Be like John Belushi when he was competing in the Olympics on Saturday Night Live. The Breakfast of Champions was donuts as he's sitting there smoking, and he talked about putting together the ultimate training table. Do you remember that? Yeah. It's awesome.
Great. By the way, Rod Dado, who was the coach of USC, and he was coach at USC, right?
Yeah.
And the coach of that 1984 Olympic team. Randy Johnson was invited to the camp but couldn't find the strike zone, so he didn't make the team. Remember, he didn't have any control when he came up with Montreal.
Nope, he had none, and that's one of the reasons, not that they gave up on him, but he was still considered a prize prospect, but couldn't throw strikes, and then winds up getting over 300 wins. Pretty incredible story.
And wound up getting traded. If you look at Mark Langston's career numbers, Mark Langston had a pretty darn good career.
Yeah.
But it's kind of overshadowed that he got traded for Randy Johnson.
Randy Johnson was close to 300 when he came to St. Louis. It was like 298, 299, and got a win here in St. Louis, and he was on fumes. He was at the very, very tail end of his career.
Was that with San Fran?
San Francisco. Yep, that was fun to watch. Seeing him do that, there's just certain things when you go to the ballpark that you just love, and that was one of the nights, if you're a baseball fan, not just a Cardinal fan, but a baseball fan that you enjoy.
Yeah.
I loved it.
The Olympics getting started and everything on NBC and all of the NBC networks. Dan, Brooke, and Randy coming up. We've got rock and roll. Are we giving away tickets today? More tickets to next Tuesday? It's 7:26. It's today 7:20. It is. We're giving away tickets next on 101 ESPN.
enroll.
Let's rock. Let's rock today.
Hey, we've got your chance to win a 4-pack of tickets to next Tuesday night's Budweiser Bash game for the Cardinals versus the Rangers, and it features a limited edition Steve Klein bobblehead. You can get all the details on this season's series of Budweiser Bash Cardinals games now at cardinals.com/promotions, or you can text in. We've got a question for you, and if you get the question correct, text in to 314-399-9646, 314-399-YO-HO! To win Budweiser Bash tickets for Cardinals and Rangers on July 30th at Busch Stadium. All right, Matthew, do you have a trivia question so people can win a 4-pack of tickets to the Budweiser Bash game, which at this point would feature Max Scherzer pitching for the Rangers?
At this, I've had this written down from the very beginning, because at the very beginning of the show and multiple times you've mentioned that the opening ceremonies today are not going to be in a stadium like usual. They're going to be on a river. And so we got a geography trivia question for today, everybody. What's the name of the river that the opening ceremonies are going to be on today?
Oh, the Missouri.
No, that's a Native American word and therefore not used very often in Europe. That's in Egypt. Also, it runs the opposite direction of what the direction this river runs, so it wouldn't really work.
Denial is more than just a river in Egypt.
Oh,
it's also a delta in Egypt.
Thank you.
That's a dumb joke, sorry.
We're here until 11, by the way. Jimmy the Cat Hayes from Bally Sports is going to join us. Dan went out to grab him. Matthew, what do you got on rock and roll here today?
Well, yesterday I had it in the rundown. We didn't get a chance to talk about it, but it looked like maybe TNT would have a fighting chance. But unfortunately, not too long after, it looked like they might have a fighting chance. That was it was severed. It was they put the knife in the eye and they twisted it, and it looks like TNT will not have any chance to jump in on the Amazon part of what was the new deal. And Charles Barkley's letting us all hear about it. His statement that he just put on Twitter a little bit ago, quote unquote, clearly the NBA has wanted to break us up from the beginning. I'm not sure TNT ever had a chance. TNT matched the money, but the league knows Amazon and these tech companies are the only ones willing to pay for the rights when they double in the future. The NBA didn't want to piss them off. It's a sad day when owners and commissioners choose money over the fans. It just sucks. I just want to thank everyone who has been at Turner for the last 24 years. They're the best people and the most talented, and they deserve better. I also want to thank the NBA and its fans, the best fans in sports. We're going to give you everything we have next season. That's Charles Barkley, TNT Inside the NBA analyst on Twitter 33 minutes ago.
Wow. Why? I guess my biggest question after hearing that is, why would they want to not keep Inside the NBA around?
Well, there's a couple of reasons. Number one, I think what he says is the most salient point. That is that when these contracts are up in 11 years, TNT, Warner Brothers Discovery, isn't going to have as much ability or opportunity to double the rights fees as presumably an Amazon would. And as we've talked about, everything is going to wind up being on streaming anyway. But I think the other reason, and I brought this up to you guys during the break, I think the NBA is bothered by the idea of the people on Inside the NBA and that show being bigger than the games. And the show did, by the way, get bigger ratings than the games. But I would guess that Adam Silver and the people in the NBA front office don't like the idea of Barkley and Kenny Smith and Shaq and Ernie Johnson being bigger stars than people like Damian Lillard or Jimmy Butler or DeMar DeRozan, some of the people on the mediocre or lesser teams. How many players, Brooke, when you think about it? You've got Steph, you've got LeBron. Isn't Charles Barkley a bigger... If Charles Barkley is walking down a street and Giannis Antetokounmpo is walking down the street, more people recognize Charles, right?
Oh, 100%.
Or Embiid, even though they know Embiid's a basketball player.
Yes.
They know exactly who
You can tell
Charles
they're basketball players, of course, but Charles Barkley is just so... I feel like universally recognized.
Yep. And same thing with Shaq. If Shaq and Embiid are walking down the street together, they're both big and say, oh, those two are both best. Oh, that's Shaq. Right?
Yeah.
And I think Silver hated the idea of the Inside the NBA guys being bigger stars than his players are.
But either way, those big stars are promoting your league really well. So I would only see that as a benefit.
Yeah, and
I'd want them on my side.
And at what point is enough? At what point, as Charles alluded to, does the goodwill to fans outweigh the cash in hand? The cash in hand is great, but you have to perpetuate that. You have to continue that. And are as many people over the course of the next 5 years going to be able to see NBA basketball on Amazon as they would be able to on Warner Brothers Discovery, on TNT? No, that's not going to happen. Maybe more than 5 years down the road, but my belief is that at least in the short term, the first half of this contract, TNT would have been a much better deal for the viability and the goodwill of the NBA than Amazon will be.
I just think that it's such a bad look. I think we all wanted to see that show stay together. Mm-hmm. I know that you can't always have things stay the same for a long period of time, but it just seems like such a benefit for the NBA to have that show going on.
100%. I agree with you. And now, especially I'm not going to have trouble. I can find games on Amazon. I find Thursday Night Football on Amazon. But there are going to be a lot of NBA fans that aren't able to find it right off the bat, even though I don't know anybody that doesn't have Prime. So you should be able to get it. And there is more visibility being off of cable. When you have 2 primetime network games a week on NBC, that's a good move for the NBA. Staying on ESPN and keeping what you have in Saturday night ABC. Usually, those are still good. You've got 3 nights a week during your basketball season, essentially, one, at least from the Super Bowl on, 3 nights a week in February, March, April, where you're the sport on free network television. That's pretty impressive. The NFL, well, they have Monday and Thursday and Sunday. So you're right there with the NFL in terms of having primetime programming during the week on free TV.
Yeah, I think a lot of the greed is going to be something that really turns off a lot of people. And the NBA is not the only one dealing with this right now. Some other people have texted in. You're seeing it with the NFL, with going to some of these big streaming platforms and changing things up. I think that the greed factor turns a lot of people off. They just want to be able to watch their games and see the people they like to see.
Right. At the end of the day, that's what you need to do to cultivate fandom and to get people emotionally involved. And I've always thought, Brooke, what you want to do if you're a sports franchise, a sports league, get people emotionally invested, and then they will become financially invested. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where leagues are missing out, because it's much harder now to become emotionally invested with a team or players than it was 20, 30 years ago. And it's in large part because of the greed, because it's harder to find those players and certainly harder to get to know those players than it was back in the day. And I get it from the players' perspective. They don't want anybody threatening their money either. They're visible and they feel like they can get out, but there aren't many Kyle Gibsons and Lance Lynn's and Alec Burlesons that are willing to get out there and be front people. Paul Goldschmidt, one of those two, front people for events where they're around a lot of people. Adam Wainwright, certainly in that group. Just not as many. Not that there aren't a lot. There are, but just not as many as there used to be.
Yeah, not as many at all.
Yeah. I mean, it used to be people, when Hull and Oates were here, Brett Hull was the biggest star in the NHL. Mm-hmm. And you would see Brett Hull and Adam Oates out to eat at dinner all the time at different restaurants around town. And you just don't see that sort of thing anymore. So, Matthew, do you have an answer to that question, and has it been answered?
Yes, the river in that goes through
Thames?
Paris is
Marcus Thames.
The Thames is in London. The Seine, the Seine
yes.
is what runs through next to ancillary to Paris. So the Seine is the river that the opening ceremonies will be in. Yes, the
Siene or
Seine.
Oh, close, Randy.
Close it in.
Yeah,
getting smarter.
Can you spell Thames?
Thames.
There you go. Nicely
nice.
Done. That Brewers slugger didn't throw you off.
Eric was the first baseman for the Brewers. Marcus was the outfielder for the Yankees.
Oh, I didn't know was it Thames as well, or was it Thames?
Marcus was Tim's. Eric was Thames.
Okay, Marcus was Thames. Okay.
Yeah.
Thames really bothered me because I was like I already knew the river, and I was like I broke myself to say the river correctly, and then Eric Thames came up, and I was like, oh, fun, thanks. This isn't going to confuse me at all.
So now we know via radio. Coming up next, we've got a balloon party. Danny Mac will return, and he will have Jimmy the Cat Hayes from Bally Sports, the greatest regional cable sideline reporter, maybe in the world, joins us next on 101 ESPN.
It's time for a DraftKings at Casino Queen Redbird report on 101 ESPN.
Bergrim Grimsley here for your Redbird Report. The Cardinals are back in town for a 6-game homestand starting today with a 3-game series against the Nationals. It will be Sonny Gray getting the start for the Cardinals in the series opener and Mackenzie Gore for the Nationals. In Sonny Gray's last outing, he picked up the win in the second game of the doubleheader split with Atlanta, giving up 5 runs on 8 hits, including 4 home runs over 7 innings. He struck out 10 while just walking a batter. First pitch is at 7:15 tonight.
The Redbird Report is presented by DraftKings at Casino Queen. Play, stay, dine at DraftKings at Casino Queen.
T-Mac and Ajax are out today. Tim is on, he's got the old member going, so he's playing some golf today. Brooke, Dan, Randy, and, as we mentioned before the break, the premier regional cable sideline reporter in the world, Jimmy the Cat Hayes, is in studio, and we're honored by your presence, sir. Good morning, and thank you very much for stopping by.
It's great to be here. How's everyone doing? This is like Rocc is here. This is great. This is a real radio station. I said on Twitter, I'm going to come on here, and I'm going to try not to cause this station to shut down like I did at the last place I was at. Now, I can't hear anything with the headphones, so I'm taking them off.
Okay. You won't need it.
People aren't calling in, so don't worry about it.
Yeah. You don't take calls?
No, we don't. We do text, though.
And mic drops, if people want to use the mic drop with the 101 ESPN app.
So if you have questions for Jimmy, just text on in.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
Good. So when you have a road trip, you get a day off yesterday, and that's rare during the baseball season. How do you generally utilize a day off?
Well, Danny knows this because I worked with him for a long time. I just get reps. You know, like if there's a house plant, I'll grab a mic and interview the house plant. You got to stay sharp. Mm-hmm. You know, it's regional cable journalism, and you got to work at it, and you got to trust your stuff, Danny, right? You try not to do too much.
I find a golf course. That's what I do.
Yeah.
You don't have a lot of outside interest, do you?
No, I do. But they center around my family. So the thing is, when you're on the road, like, you can't do the stuff you're supposed to be doing. So when you get home, you usually have a list of things that you are required to do, which I'm glad to do because I am a homebody.
A honey to-do list. And so you practice your interviewing skills. Jim, I told you this a long time ago. I really do truly enjoy your interview style and also how you get to important stories, but also some of the more interesting stories about players. What is one of the most interesting stories you've heard so far about the players this year?
About this year?
Yes, with undercover journalism work that you've done.
Let's see. I think Miles Michaelis trying to make it a one-man endeavor to bring bullpen carts to St. Louis. I thought that was pretty fascinating. There's a lot of people who are fascinated by the nostalgia of bullpen carts. And when we were on the road and one of the teams had it, he laid out his platform for trying to bring it to St. Louis. In terms of sponsorship and stuff like that, that's pretty good. I think the whole Burley Biscuit thing is pretty good. I mean, he told me I had to do some undercover digging on that. Right here on 101, I want to say I broke that his nickname was Biscuit. Now, other people can claim they did. I broke that story, okay? I broke it.
That'll be the story of the year for 2024.
Right? There's no question. And then the fact that he was a rapper, DJ Burley Biscuits, that's pretty good stuff. For me, it's gold. Because let's be honest, the games, especially when they're not playing that well, there's a certain sameness to it. I think getting to know the players and their personalities is a key part of it. And then when they're winning, which they've been playing very good baseball since Mother's Day, the players aren't afraid to show that side. When they're losing, everyone's down, and the job isn't all that fun.
How's Lance Lynn been treating you this year?
He's been great. So behind the scenes, he'll drop some cuss words in there, and then like in a post game, he doesn't do it if we do him on a pregame interview, but he'll drop them on the post game, and he'll smile at me like because he knows I have to text our producer and say, F-bomb warning, S-bomb warning. Be careful because that could be on me if we don't get that out of there. So I have to let him know, and Lance knows it's extra work for me, so he enjoys that. But he's been great to deal with. You know, he took Waino's locker, which I thought was interesting because Lance wasn't really part of the Cardinal Way thing, and I think that was him, like, planting his flag. I'm taking this locker right here, and I am not going to be part of the Cardinal Way. And now,
so what do you mean by that? What do you not part of the Cardinal Way thing? What do you mean by that?
I don't really know what the Cardinal Way is. I never read the pamphlet. But they do have a certain way of doing things. It's changed. Like it used to be pitch to contact. Now you got to strike them out. You got to strike. It changes. You have to adapt with things. But I think back in the day, like the way all the starters were in lockstep, Lance kind of rebelled against that, I think. And, he wasn't always, like Waino is great. We love him. But he's kind of like milk and cookies great, right? Lance wants to drop some curse words in there and be his own great. So I think that's where the dichotomy is.
How's Ollie been?
He's been great.
Yeah, fun to deal with, isn't he?
I don't know how you guys approach it, but I think he's doing a good job. The players do love him. Like, I always think back to the whole Tyler O'Neill thing, and he lost the, he lost the clubhouse because Tyler was a great guy. Still love him, still keep in touch with him, but he was a kind of his own operation. He wasn't part of like the young youth movement, and he and Ollie got sideways. I think a lot of it had to do with his agent, and so they parted ways. But Ollie never lost the team. I think the players really love and respect Ollie. Now, they could be playing better baseball. I mean, they dug out of a big hole, and there's still work to do. And so it remains to be seen, is Ollie successful or not? I think he has them headed in the right direction.
How many years now you been doing this?
473.
Yeah, I figured as much.
Wow, you look great.
Yeah. How many years now?
I can't really, it's 23, 24, 25, somewhere in there. And I think
If it's 25, we should know about it. There should be a party.
I don't know. But my dad used to tell me, how do you stay employed? He would say, show up on time and wear pants.
That was it. Now, your dad was the old master painter.
Yes, he was.
Tell the story. Yeah, tell the stories behind him.
I always say this. Danny's the most talented guy I ever worked with. My father is the most talented guy I ever knew.
And what did he do?
He was a singer, and then he was a crooner. Sang on the Arthur Godfrey show with the big bands and was really successful. And then the whole crooner thing dried up, and he reinvented himself as a game show host and then as a talk show host. He did talk shows like news, information, everyday life stuff, and he did that for years.
So he would do the national anthem at Yankee Stadium. He'd do stuff like that,
sang
right?
the national anthem
Wow.
at Cosmos games, at Yankees games.
That's awesome.
All the time.
Can you sing?
Yeah, I can say.
Oh, no, you can't.
There's
Dan.
no business like
See,
show.
he does this. You let him right down the path
Sorry,
that he
Ron.
can't
So
sing.
Is that how you became such an entertaining person?
I'm not that entertaining.
You are.
Let's be honest.
And by the way, when you see Jim Hayes on TV, you're entertained. But if you're around Jim Hayes and there's no Jim's always holding a microphone. But if there's not a camera in sight, you're still entertaining.
I put on a great show before I do the pregame hit. I do. Danny's heard it. I sing, I dance, I get the crowd involved. Sometimes if we're on the road, I start a little verbal spat with the home team's mascot or their sideline reporter. I try to make it fun. Okay. Because part of it is, like, Danny used to say that I do that because I'm nervous, right? He used to say I'm nervous.
You're nervous.
No, I'm nervous right now because I'm on 101 with you guys. But I'm not nervous. I'm just trying to get the energy flowing. Because there's a certain sameness when you're doing kind of the same thing every game. So I try to mix it up.
Okay. Coming up, we're going to find out if Jimmy the Cat Hayes ever had beef with the Philly Fanatic. That's next on 101 ESPN. T-Mac and Ajax. It's not Tim and Jackson Burkett. It's still a balloon party, though. Brooke, Dan, Randy, and what makes it a party is the presence of Jimmy the Cat Hayes from Bally Sports. You'll see him tonight. Cards, and we don't have an Apple game tonight, I hope.
No, or
Good.
Roku or...
You're working.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah,
Yes.
sure.
So how does this work? I love T-Mac. So T-Mac says, hey, guys, I want to golf. So you guys work an extra hour?
That's the way it works.
How it
Yeah,
works?
pretty much.
Pretty
All right,
much.
just-
Pretty good, huh?
So some things haven't changed.
Okay, I was going to ask if it was that way when you were working on it. So, guys, we're going to be here
Pretty
tomorrow.
much nailed it. Yeah.
So you mentioned that sometimes when you're rehearsing, getting ready for pregame, you'll get into a spat with the opposing team's mascot. And I know that Brad Thompson has had a run-in with the Philly Fanatic before. Have you ever had a run-in with the Philly Fanatic?
Yeah, he did that thing where he put the jersey over my head, and I gave him a little shove, and then I had to go to his office lounge to kind of talk through it.
Are you being serious? Did you do that?
Yeah.
I'm dead serious.
Yeah, but it was show.
Yeah, I know.
It wasn't
I get it.
real. But anyway, I had to go and let him know that I know the foundation of what the Fanatic's about, the original Fanatic and his lineage. And then another time, so the biggest spat I've had is with the Parrot in Pittsburgh, because it should be a pirate. Why? They're the Pirates. Like, the Cardinals have a Cardinal mascot. Why is it I get it. The Parrot's on the shoulder of a pirate, but they used to have a pirate mascot. Apparently the old pirate mascot got into trouble, like big trouble, so they just did away with it. And then they just decided to have a parrot and just turn the page. So when I see the parrot, I'm like, you should be a pirate.
It's not
And then
legit.
he actually came after me on Twitter, the pirate mascot.
Oh,
and
I
I had to
remember
fire
that.
back. Yeah.
Wait, what did he say?
I think he made fun of regional cable journalism or something. I don't even remember.
But you're a big part of the broadcast, though, Jimmy. I mean, just ask you.
That was good.
I'm serious.
No, Danny.
I'm being
Danny,
serious.
If you don't think I overvalue those 14-second hits that I do, then you're crazy.
No,
I'm on the game for 14 seconds at a pop, and you better believe if the ball is hit and the ball could go somewhere, I'm shutting up.
Yeah, I get it. How about your favorite player? Who's been your favorite player over the years to deal with?
Let's see, Brett Tomko.
You like?
No,
really?
I just like throwing out.
I was going to say, wait a minute, hold on.
Yeah, no.
You know, now that he's retired, he's more into the Cardinals alumni, and he has shocked everybody with how he is. He's awesome.
Okay, I just threw it out there because I did a MOS,
Yeah.
Danny. You know, I used to do
Man on the
MOSs,
street.
right?
Man on the
street. And sorry, that's inside baseball lingo.
Yeah.
And I was talking, I was doing the pirate thing. It's like, you can do fun stuff when the team wins, so it was okay. But they were facing Skeens, and so I wanted to tell the people that were all there to see Skeens that he was a late scratch, and they're like, well, who's starting? I said, Brett Tomko. And so it was fresh on my mind, so I threw Tomko out there. There's a lot of guys that I loved over. Holiday's up there, Lance Lynn. Matt Carpenter's great.
Was there somebody, though, that, because you do it in a different way than most interviewers do it. Most of the players, they'll come here.
And they ask legitimate questions.
Yeah, right.
Okay, I don't.
So was there anybody that you were really particularly proud of getting to engage with your style? That was tough, a tough nut to crack, but you did.
Well, I feel like, and maybe this is me, again, overstating my value, Danny, but like I felt like I cracked the code with Lance Lynn. Remember, everyone was terrified of him, and I understood that this was his shtick that he was trying to do, so I got there. You know, I guess the best thing was, and I'm not saying like we write postcards or send emails to each other, and he's done some stuff that I would not endorse, but Marcelo Zuna came on the pregame show. Do you remember? He would growl at the media, and I would like, you're not really scaring anyone with that, But he's having a great year. He was a pretty good hitter in St. Louis. Didn't feel that much, but anyway, he always had the what do you call
neon
that? Day glow
sleeve.
neon, yeah.
Yes, the neon. Well, your son liked that.
So
too.
I stole one from the clubhouse. Sorry, Mo. And when they weren't looking, and I did my interview wearing the day glow like him, and for pregame, and I think that won him over a little. Now, that doesn't mean like we're best friends, but I will say when I see him Like on the road, he'll come over and give me like a little hug and everything.
Big Bear, right? Yeah. Isn't Big Bear his nickname? Big Bear Hug?
I know he's done a lot of stuff that I don't want to endorse here on 101.
Oh,
Well, the growling. Yeah, I remember the growling. But does your son still like the neon sleeve?
No, he doesn't like those. He doesn't like any. Once they're not Cardinals, my son's done with it.
Okay.
But he's
'Cause I
like,
remember that.
He is
He loved the
ultimate. Like if
neon
I
sleeve.
said to him, "Hey, what's the score going to be today?" They're playing the Nationals. He'll be like, "They're going to win 14-0. Goldschmidt's going to have 5 home runs." He's like the ultimate optimist fan, which I get accused of on social media of being.
How about your favorite interview? Is there one that stands out?
Yes.
Which one?
The one that you kind of pushed me into.
What are you talking about?
The classic go to bat interview.
Oh, that is the best. That is the best. I did not push you into that. You were doing it kind of a
They
man
said
on the
go
street.
interview. Where were we? What club was
Champion.
it?
No, it wasn't a champion.
They got a million of them now.
It was the one out in left center, whatever
The one
it was.
out in left center. I don't think that's the actual name.
Whatever.
And it's a revenue producer, so we're behind it 100%. But anyway, it was a new thing. These guys were doing the broadcast there, and they said, go talk to people and find fun ones. Find the... So I found this eclectic, I'll call it eclectic group, and one guy was like, they were crazy. And so I kept going, and apparently that interview made the rounds and ended up on Jim Rome.
Yeah.
Classic.
Go to Tom Seaver was another one. Are you playing it now?
Yeah.
The classic go to bed drop.
Thank you. The Tom Seaver was another one. God rest his soul. But he was in town for something, and he was sitting with Dave Duncan, and I was like, hey, I don't know him. And he's fine or anything. And we started the interview, and he's drunk. I mean, or something. And he seemed fine when I met him. And once we're in, I'm like, how do we get out of this? And he's going on. It's Tom Seaver. You don't want to cut him off. I cut him off just in time to get out of the ending.
I want to go. I want to go back to the interview that with the fans that you were interviewing. And I didn't push you because you said in the interview, against my better judgment, I'm going to tempt fate here. And then you went back with them, and then they said that there were drugs in the bathroom.
Yeah. Oh yeah, right.
Yes. I've seen that video.
And then they said classic go to bat. What do the Cardinals? What do the Cardinals mean to you? And you said classic, or they said classic go to bat.
I said to him, okay, give me your thoughts on the Cardinals game today. And the guy didn't want to say anything else, and I held the mic there.
Until he
said something. That's what he came out with. But part of the problem is, Dan, you know me.
Go to bat.
You're a little like this, too. Like, I kind of like I'm going to push. Like, it's not like people are like, oh, are you embarrassed by that? No, I'm proud of that. That was awesome for me.
I think the line that I used when you threw it back is that if that doesn't sell tickets now, nothing will.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I've seen that video. It is so just the reaction in your face though, because you just stood so strong of like, no, I'm going to stick here and get an answer out of them, no matter how awkward this is.
So was that in the seats across the street in the?
Yeah, it might have been. It might have been across the street at Ballpark Village.
It was somewhere in there.
Yeah.
that was interesting. I remember watching that live, saying, "What the hell's going on here?" But it was great. It was great television, and that's what you're looking for. Ultimately, it comes down to content.
And part of it too is, and this is self-serving, but if I think it's funny, I'm probably going to do it. For me,
well, there's
even if no one else does.
There's 162 games.
That's true.
You got to mix it up. You're obligated to do at least a couple of hits during the game. I mean, within the broadcast.
I tell them I do 7, but it's probably 3 or 4.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, you do a hell of a job. I mean that.
Yeah. Thank you, Dan.
What about celebrities that you've interviewed? Because, of course, the athletes are celebrities in their own right, but I'm talking about actual celebrities that have come to the game.
It's been a lot. I mean, I told someone the other day, I got chopped by Ric Flair. We had Ric Flair live, and I said, can you chop me? And he said, you don't want me to chop you. And I did, and he chopped me, and it hurt. I think the one I'm most proud of is Chris Rocc was in town, and they said he's not doing interviews. I go, we'll see about that. So I go without the camera, without anyone else, and I was just like, I'm like the sideline guy, and can I talk to him and just pitch him? Instead of, I know he's not doing it, let me pitch him. And so they said, all right, wait here, and there's like a big security guy. And then he came out and I said, I just want to pitch you what I want to talk about. And he's like, okay, let's do it.
And that was good. It was a good interview.
It was a good interview.
John
yeah.
Goodman was a good interview, too. I remember
was great. Yeah, he was really good.
The Joe Kelly with Nelly. Now, did you help set that up?
No, the Joe Kelly, and if you guys probably don't know what it is, but Joe Kelly was great. He was like a semi-regular on the pregame show because he liked doing stuff. I had booked Nelly, or someone had booked, maybe it was Brad Straubinger, had booked Nelly live, which is a great live guest. You don't need anything else. So Kelly comes up to me and says, hey, I have an old man mask. I want to do some in pregame. I go, I booked Nelly. And he said, well, let me come in and swoop in on the interview. And I'm thinking, okay, let's see how it works. And it was great.
Yeah.
Because he came in as an old guy pretending he didn't know what rap songs Nelly did. And then Nelly had no idea it was Joe Kelly. Had no idea.
He didn't? I thought he did.
He didn't.
Now, he didn't think that was truly an old man. He
didn't know what was going on, he told me, but he had no idea it was a player. Who's going to think a player is suddenly pretending that Nelly is 50 Cent or whatever?
That's Jimmy the Cat Hayes. Some of the other fun Cardinals over the years. John Brebbia is one of those. Kyle Loesch was one. We'll get some stories about those guys next on 101 ESPN.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The Cardinals back in action today after their day off yesterday. They will host the Washington Nationals for Game 1 of a 3-game series. 7:15 first pitch, and it'll be Sonny Gray facing off against the lefty for the Nationals, Mackenzie Gore. Gore on the season 6-8 with a 4.20 ERA. And today, the games of the 33rd Olympiad begin with a 12:30 opening ceremony. That is your Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an independent Magnuson heating and air conditioning dealer.
It's a balloon party with Brooke, Dan, Randy, and Jimmy the Cat Hayes, who you'll see tonight on Bally Sports. Cards and Nationals opening up a 3-game series at the ballpark, and you have a lot of fun with the players, but there's a lot of players that have fun because of you, and a couple that come to mind quickly for me. Kyle Loesch, who was great with you guys, and John Brebbia, who was great with all of us.
John Brebbia is awesome, and he could help this team now, don't you think?
He could. He's a White Sox, right?
Yeah, and it's funny. The White Sox, to me, I think, like, you ever see the movie Apocalypse Now? Mm-hmm. Do you remember that? You probably never saw it. Danny, did you ever see Apocalypse?
Oh, yeah.
It's like one of the outward stations, like in Major League Baseball, when they were trying to find Colonel Kurtz. Like, there was no one in charge. Like, that's how the White Sox, when Joe Kelly was there and Lance Lynn was there last year, I interviewed them together for the pregame show. And I was like, hey, is Lance here or Joe? And the PR guy's like he was like scared. I don't know. Run, hide. like it was almost like there was like gunfire. I don't know. Run. Anyway, so they didn't show up. There were players stretching. There was work going on, and these guys just showed up. You knew it wasn't like a well-run ship. Mm-hmm. They showed up whenever they wanted. And we did the interview while the rest of the team stretching or taking BP. They were on their own thing. But I love Brebbia.
Who else? Give me like Brebbia stands out easily. But give me an under the radar guy. Give me an under the radar guy that quietly you would say is on the level of John Brebbia.
In terms of fun.
Yeah. There's got to be some.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. But the truth is, when you get to be my age, then you forget about them.
Jimmy, you look great at 40.
Thank you. I've been taking care of myself, Danny. Let me think. Gosh, there has to be.
Did Loesch dress up as Tony?
Yeah, he did that. He also.
You had a dash against him in Houston, like a 50-yard dash.
Yeah. Did you ever hear that? He set that up. So Kyle Loesch said, what did he say?
He said he could beat you in a 50-yard dash, essentially.
Or something. I'll race you.
Yeah.
I'll race you for whatever.
For charity. It was supposed to be charity, I thought.
Supposed to be charity.
Yeah.
And even Tony La Russa got involved. And I'm in there in my Dockers and a terrible tie and a dress shirt. And we were going to do this thing. They set up cones. Pete Prinzi had set up cones.
Oh, yeah.
Tony La Russa was out. And we had cameras there. And I was going to sprint. He was going to get a head start. And it was really just to make me run. I forget what the joke was. I didn't say I'd actually race you. Whatever. And so he did that. He also did a lot of things with on-field celebrations that were part of TMA's in this building, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, when Tim wants to be there. Jokes. But we talked about this a lot on that show. I was there for a long time on that show where he would come on the field in the post-game celebrations and the shredding and the stuff and really punish his teammates by doing
untoward things.
Untoward things. Thank you, Danny.
Sure.
Yeah, and then eventually someone got a photo of it, and Kyle came on the show to say that sometimes photos indicate things that actually didn't happen.
I thought one of the guys, I love that. I thought one of the guys that kind of flew under the radar that people didn't know but was really good and great to us was Brendan Ryan. A lot of people thought he was off his rocker. And he may have been.
He was.
But he was great. He was great to deal with. He's one of my all-time favorites.
Great guy. He told me, who was the third baseman? Troy Glaus.
Troy Glaus.
Right? He told me that Troy Glaus, when Brendan was called up, he asked Troy, hey, can you tell me where to position myself? And Troy brought him in close on the field in the middle of the game and punched him in the chest, which is odd. And then I told that story and with Brendan and some other teammates. He said, That never happened. Well, you told me it did.
Yeah.
He's crazy.
Remember, he showed up to the wrong stadium in New York?
Yeah.
So
God.
he was supposed to be at Shea, and he goes to Yankee Stadium because he said, well, the cabbie took me to the wrong place, the wrong stadium. He didn't know which stadium to be at and showed up about an hour late.
Yeah.
Those are kind of things that happen with him.
Also, he took one of the mini cams we gave him to shoot behind the scenes stuff, and there might have been some smoking paraphernalia in the shot that he accidentally put in.
Jimmy.
It's true. Happens, true.
It does.
Well, the 2014 will be celebrated tonight. Tony La Russa in town. What is your favorite moment with Tony La Russa?
There's a couple. One when
Miami and shaving.
that was good.
That was one of my favorites. That probably is my favorite. If you want to explain the story and what happened.
So I don't know how I got on the air, but Tony came out to do his interview, and he had his no shirt, which isn't appealing, and he still had his shaving cream, and he was going to do the interview. And I go, let's act like we've been here before. I had to wipe the shaving cream from his face. But when Brendan Phillips and Yachty got into it, and there was the big brawl that we showed on Fox Now Bally's 478 times, because it's great video. After that, he said, that's my favorite. He said, we're not going to talk about that crap. We're going to talk about the game. So I laid back and waited till somehow that got, because no one cared about the game at that point. It was like, what happened? And he brought it up. Well, when this happened, so I followed up him, and he said, you been a wise guy? Excuse me? No, I told you I'm not talking about that crap. You trying to disrespect me? I said, you brought it up, and I'm following up. And he said, you want me to throw you out of here, in his office, in a postgame. And I'm like, who's going to throw me out? I look at Brian Bartow, and Bartow's like, not me. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But he was threatening to throw me out of his office.
Tony was dealing with Tony on a day-to-day basis. He was so good to me.
He was great to you.
Yeah, he was. He was exceptional to me. Just generally speaking, he is one of my all-time favorites. I mean, he was willing to explain the game, especially the next day. We had the Tony La Russa show for one season, and he would stop doing what he was doing to come over and tell me, okay, you want to do the show now, before addressing the rest of the media, and then tell you exactly off the air what was going on, who was hurt, who was available, who was not. So he knew how to use the media in the right way and to help you out too.
Yeah, and then, part of his shtick was, because it became Tony TV, right, in the post game, because he would attack if you don't know anything about, but whatever. And, but the thing was, people would say, do you and Tony not get along? No, it was all for show. Like, after he threatened to kick me out and was angry at me for disrespecting, he acted like it wasn't real, because it wasn't. He was a showman in a sense.
No doubt.
And Tony TV, if I'm not mistaken, many times got higher ratings after the game than the game itself, right?
Well, the pregame and postgame show features a lot of regional cable journalism, which, have positive ratings impact. Sometimes some sound bigger than the events I cover.
That would be you.
I'm the one that says that. Correct.
And Tyler.
Correct.
And your lovely wife.
No, my wife would not say it.
No, she wouldn't.
She would say zip it.
All right. I get it.
It's a balloon party. More with the cat coming up on 101 ESPN. Balloon Party. We're in for Tim McKernan and Jackson Burkett, and it is an honor to be joined by Jimmy the Cat Hayes. He, of course, the longtime 23, 24, 25-year Cardinal sideline regional cable broadcast journalist.
Thank you. Yeah. So it's probably the oldest in baseball, I would say, right? Sideline guy? Probably.
I would think so. Yeah. Which, congratulations, because that's not, it seems like a very... Is fungible position a good word for it? It seems like
that makes it sound
there's turnover,
like it's easy to eliminate. That's
yeah,
Randy. I don't appreciate that at all.
Well, but you've maintained it, and that's a credit to you for having the relationships that you have with the ball club and with the players and with your audience. The people want to hear from and see Jimmy the Cat Hayes.
That's very kind. I don't know if that's true, but I still work at it. Like, I do try. Part of the thing is, and Brooke knows this, Danny knows this, you know this because you've been in that clubhouse, it's a waiting game. And what fills my day mostly is waiting for the guy that I was hoping to get 45 minutes earlier. Now, that's not a shot because the players have stuff to do. You're waiting to cross paths. Sometimes you set it up in advance. But generally speaking, the players have been great, and they know, like, all right, I'm up. I'll be glad to do it. But you got to wait.
You get Mo pretty much every Sunday. Well, how has that relationship evolved over the years?
Well, I have to kiss his butt. You see that
carry
on social.
His water.
Can't ask him any. Yeah, carry his water. Anyone that says anything good about the Cardinals, obviously they're shilling for the team. No, I've known him for a long time, and he's always been available. Now, I am a rights holder, so maybe more so now than for other media because things have gone a little choppy. I mean, last year was brutal. It was a brutal year for all of us, and I get it. Fans are unhappy. Guys still talk about it in the clubhouse that, they had to shake that off from last year. Now maybe they're doing it. But I think I've always been fair with Mo. I'm always respectful. And, he understands that we are partners. So, yeah, he's been, really good and really fair with me.
This is kind of a tenuous time to be in your position because guys could be on the move. It's trade deadline. You anticipate maybe the Cardinals would be somewhat active, but guys get a little uptight around this time.
They do because you're looking around, you're like, who's going?
Yeah.
Oh, it's me. No one really knows. And when players say, hey, we need to add, there's some guys in the clubhouse going, no, we're good, because they know they want to add in place of you.
Right.
So, yeah, it's always a little tense. And I hope the Cardinals make some moves because I think they have pieces. Some of the pieces are redundant. They need a right-handed bat. I think they probably need a starter. And I always wonder, because I've talked to Mo about this, he's going to be going soon, He's not going to be fired. No one's firing him. Like, if he's going to say it's time for me to go, he has another year left. But I think and I've talked to him about this, I think he wants his legacy to be a positive one because, trust me, he isn't happy about the way things went last year, the way this season started earlier.
And there was a lot about the veteran leadership in the clubhouse going into the year, and you're behind the scenes with these guys a lot. How have you seen that veteran leadership really help this team, especially when they got off to that bad start and they were able to really mount a comeback?
So I watch how Matt Carpenter works it. He really does. I watch how the guys in the rotation kind of own that clubhouse. Like, they're the big dogs in it. And I think at first I wondered, do you need two veteran guys like they have with Crawford and Carp? Maybe not. But I've watched those guys. I think they've been a calming influence because, let's be honest, there's a lot of young players. Last year was a disaster, and they were headed right off the dock again, and they pulled it back. And I think part of that is leadership and guys helping them understand, no, we can turn this around.
Do you anticipate the Cardinals being busy?
I don't know how busy. I know they have needs. I know they're going to get a relief pitcher. I mean, I don't know who. I don't even play that game of who because no one really knows. But by the way, I'd like Brevia would certainly be good. Maybe another. I think they need a right-handed bat. But when I brought up with Mo last time we talked about starting pitching, he didn't jump right in and go, that's a need. But I think it is. Not so much. It's not a shot at Palante in the fifth spot because he's kind of been what they were expecting from him. He's been fine. I just wonder, when you have a core in your starting rotation at this point in their careers, they're one ache or pain away from having to retool that thing. I would like to see them fix that.
Has there been a guy, we were just talking about leadership, has there been a guy over the years where you're in the clubhouse and you know, but nobody outside the clubhouse would know, where you say, it's really, the clubhouse is part his too, and we just don't hear about it. Has there been a kind of a quiet leader that you've observed?
The one guy that comes to mind was a star, Matt Holliday. Like Goldschmidt, people would say, yeah, Matt leads by example, doesn't say too much. Are you kidding me? He won't shut up in there. I mean, I had one time, Big City said, hey, can we talk over there? Because I don't want Holiday to see me doing the interview. Like, Holiday owned that clubhouse. Hated post-game to say, hey, you had 2 homers. How did you do? Hated that. Hate talking about himself. But very talkative, very much a leader on that club.
So what do you expect down the stretch with your job? Let's go. I mean, I need you to go to Mo.
What do you expect with my job? Well, hopefully I have one. I've already destroyed a radio station. I'd rather not do it for a regional cable entity.
Well, I need you to go to Mo and say, let's go. Hold him accountable. I need you to hold some people accountable now.
Yes.
This is your job, Jim.
I've talked to him. I've talked to Mo. I'll say, how come we're not doing that? Who was the pitcher that we got from the Red Sox that had the fried chicken?
John Lackey.
Lackey. So I remember Lackey was good, and I wanted them to bring him back. And I said to Lackey, have they talked to you about a contract? And he said, no. I go, would you give him a little hometown discount? And Mo was there, and I said, Mo, let's get this done. I have a scrap of paper. Let's get this done right now. Mo was furious.
Did he really get mad?
Yeah.
He was serious.
Not really mad, but like, please don't do that.
Yeah.
Please don't get involved in that.
Yeah, let somebody else handle it.
Yeah.
No, I mentioned this on the air when Whitey passed away. Many times, for whatever reason, Whitey and Tony, they would be at some function together, like around opening day, and Whitey would come up with a slip of paper and say, this should be your opening day lineup. And Tony hated it.
Love that.
Tony hated that, though.
Love that.
Yeah.
Do you see, go ahead. Do you see a changing of the guard, though, in the leadership with the young guys that are starting to emerge?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I think Burley, Wynn, as young as they are.
Donovan
was the lead. He was a leader last year, in my opinion, even more so than the amount of time he had in Major League Baseball. But I see Wynn. I see the young guys kind of taking flight right in front of our eyes. And I watch Matt Carpenter and the way he handles those guys. And I think he does. People are like, why is he here? Well, he's hitting 240, which is better than some guys on the lineup. But I watched the way he handles that role. I think he's very important.
Speaking of holding guys accountable, that's something that I see on your social media. Big fan of your social media page, by the way.
I'm also
Jen.
bad at Twitter, too.
No, you're fantastic at it, because I always look for the Spirit wins on the day off, and also for Stella updates. We have people texting in talking about Stella and how much they love seeing her.
That's my dog, Stella, mini bull terrier. I post those after a Cardinal loss to help. Look, Cardinal fans, I'm with you. I don't want them to lose. I want to do a dumb on-the-field interview. So that's to help ease the pain. And the Spirit wins are an homage to the late Joe Strauss, who was my friend, because when we'd fight on the radio back when I had a show, he would talk about Spirit wins. And now I do it. And people on social media, a lot of people get it. Some don't. They're like, we're reduced to this point where we have to issue Spirit wins. I always say, are you new? Like you haven't been around.
That's the name of this show. The Balloon Party is also an homage to the late great Joe Strauss. It's a tough job that you have. It's because, like you have a year like last year, it can be tough. Have you ever had a day, because you have a lot of fun with it too, where you said, man, I don't need this anymore? Or do you enjoy it every
Randy,
season?
I still have bills to pay.
Okay. Okay.
No, there are days where I was like, what am I going to do? But I approach it the same way every day. Like, believe it or not, like 10 a.m. in the morning, I call the producer and we talk about what I'm going to do, and then we figure it out. But
so what are you doing tonight?
All the stuff with the 04 guys. I already have like 6 interviews lined up. I don't even know if I'm going to do a news hit. Might get a live guy. But because I was here at 10, Danny, I didn't call the producer yet. Yeah, but we already know we're doing 2 or 3 things. We have an hour-long pregame, so I should promote that, I guess. And I'm already doing 2 or 3 things.
Good. By the way, do you... Brooke mentioned that you just said you post Stella on your Twitter page. Are you usurping some of her followers with her own Instagram page?
So she has an Instagram page.
Yeah.
But that means we have to... I don't do Instagram, and I don't think my wife does Instagram, so we were putting it on there, and then it was like, yeah, it's kind of work, so we're not going to do it. That's the whole thing with social media. Like, sometimes it's work. Twitter's easy for me. I'm an old... And I don't know how to post. I ask your kid, because we did the YouTube stuff for Valleys. He had to do everything, because I'm an old and I have no tech know-how. So Twitter I could figure out. So that's why I'm still on Twitter. Even though it's called X, I call it Twitter, because I'm not changing.
Because you're an old.
Yes.
Hey, we appreciate you stopping by. This has been just a ton of fun.
It's been fun. Thank you. Usually, my thing on radio is I interrupt other people, so thanks for letting me just go.
It was great.
Good.
Thanks for coming in, Jim.
Do you need a radio fix? After taking down a station before, did you need to get on a radio station?
I needed to talk about myself for a full hour. So
you should
thank
come
you for
in
letting
some
me
more.
What's that?
You should come in some more and break some news or something.
I'd like to.
Well, you should.
All right.
You can do
well,
this.
invite me back. I'll do it.
Okay. All right.
We appreciate you stopping by. Thank you.
Thank you all.
That's Jimmy the Cat Hayes. See him tonight, 6 o'clock, I guess, pregame on Bally, right? With the hour-long 7:15
Thank you. Yeah.
first pitch. So check out Jimmy the Cat Hayes on the pre and the post for the Cardinals and the Nationals. Great job today by our producer, audio, video engineer, the one, the only Matthew Rocc. Thank you, sir. He gives us a pleasure. Brooke, did you have fun today?
Yeah.
Danny Mack, you were awesome.
Oh, no, you were, Randall. Pleasure.
So
They're both great. So is Brooke.
Yep.
Oh, thank you.
And Matthew.
Rocc is great. See, that was my bad.
There we go.
Keep tweeting about that soccer stuff so I can figure it out.
Hey, we thank you for tuning in, texting in, and being a part of these shows, both the opening drive and the balloon party. And for all of us until Monday morning at 7, when I won't be here, by the way, BK will be in for me. Don't just have a great weekend, have an American weekend.